Hi, I'm Catalina. I'm here with 3 hats on today, so just 1, 2. I'm a volunteer for the Darebin Repair Cafe, which is supported and funded by, like, it's a sub project of Transition Darebin. It's supported more years than not by a grant from Darebin Council. And we also get discounts for venue hire from various neighbourhood houses in the area as well. Hat number 1. Hat number 2, I am doing some paid support for Richmond Community Learning Centre's Richmond Repair Corner. So I'm working with them just for the next, it's been 6 months. I think it's going to be looking at 12 months all up. And that's just to help them streamline. So they've been running, from memory, pre-COVID, but took a real hit with COVID. And so they're just kind of clawing their way back now and coming back strong. But they're finding that a lot of their volunteer time is going towards kind of admin side of things in a way that maybe isn't efficient. So I'm here to kind of do things like help streamline things like booking, things like that. I'm also, hat number 3, helping North Carlton Railway Neighbourhood House set up a repair cafe called Repair. So that had its first one last weekend. Yeah, last weekend. Thank you. And that seemed to go quite well. That's a small one with the space they have. It'll always be a small one. But they're looking at maybe more of a kind of teaching people to fix their own things rather than fixing it for them thing, just because they've got more of a, I don't know, like a personable vibe with their local community. People want to come in and chat and do activities together a bit more. So they're looking at something maybe a little bit different to what I'm used to. In terms of what I was hoping to get out today, just to see what people are doing in general, and also if anyone had kind of any ideas for how to kind of better reflect kind of the value that all of these events are bringing, because it's not, you know, I think we all almost seem to do weight, but weight seems like such a small part of what we do. Like, you know, clothes aren't heavy, but if they go to landfill, they're going to produce a whole lot more greenhouse gases than something like maybe a bicycle that could, at least in part, get recycled. And that's obviously a very complicated thing to capture.
Thank you. Candice did briefly introduce me, but I'll introduce myself to you as well. So I'm Heather. I work with Candice and David in the Community Solutions team, and I manage the Communities Fund, which is a grant program, and we have funded a couple of repair cafes here and a whole bunch of others. The fund wasn't limited to repair cafes, it was small scale waste and recycling projects. So we've had a lot of interesting projects come through. And I just wanted to ask everyone in the room, if you're not directly funded by us, have you heard about SV before? Or have you heard about the Communities Fund in particular? So maybe a show of hands, who hadn't heard of SV before David reached out? Has everybody heard of us in some capacity? Yeah. Joe's shaking his head, so 1 no. Yeah. And then those who had heard of SV, had you heard about the Communities Fund or that there was funding available for projects such as repair cafes?
I forgot to say those second 2 projects are funded by SV.
There you go. Okay, so you're shaking your head, Charlie, as well? Yep. Right, thank you. That's just good for me to know. Okay, over to you, Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie from Moonee Valley Repair Cafe. We've got a hall in Ascot Vale, which is rent-free kind of thing. It's a kind of a community. Yeah, well, we tried. We went around lots of different places around Moonee Valley, places the council recommended and so on. The council wanted to charge us rent, which is kind of, I guess, part of the course. But yeah, we found this place. It's kind of like a big lounge room. Big lounge room. It's an old church hall. It's really, and just straight away we knew that was the place that we wanted to set up. So we started Moonee Valley Repair Cafe. I think it was 3 years ago. It might have been longer. Feels like longer. And with another person, Jack and Hayley, and they've since moved out of the area. So it's kind of just me being the coordinator. Since we started, another group has sort of jigsawed in with us, I guess, Moonee Valley Sustainability, and I'm part of the committee on that, or was, and that group has allowed us to sort of develop our governance and all the red tape stuff that needs to go through, and insurances and all those sorts of things that I couldn't do by myself, or even with Jack and Haley, we couldn't really get some of that stuff happening. So that's been really good. And through them, they've applied for lots of grants, provide that sort of resource to do that. I'm a repairer at the Repair Cafe as well, and we've got a core group of people that come along, but we definitely need more volunteers and more repairers. It's kind of a lottery of who will turn up on the day. We do it monthly.
One in the month beforehand.
I try to. So it's just kind of me coordinating things. We're kind of bound to Facebook, I guess, which is kind of limiting, I think, to some degree, to get the word out for events and so on. It's kind of useful, but at the same time limiting, I think, for the kind of people that we want to attract potentially. What else? Yeah, I think just getting more volunteers to help run our cafe would be really good. Having something a little bit more permanent and more regular, more than once a month, would be really good, I think. But that would definitely involve funding and getting the location to be able to do that.
How often are people running sessions? Is it roughly once a month or?
Ours is monthly.
Yeah,
monthly. That happens every 2 months, but touring into months.
so nobody's able to do more frequently by the sounds of it at the moment.
Yes, would like to, but yeah,
Yeah.
just limited by.
Limited by resources.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you generally do them at the same place, or do you move them around?
We've done a couple of pop-ups at Wingate. It's like a housing estate, I think, and a couple of other pop-ups. We bought a trailer to turn into a mobile repair cafe, but that hasn't happened enough of my time, I guess, to coordinate getting that set up and refurbished to suit. But that's a future project as well, or a current project. But
We found doing having a repair cafe stand at like a community fair, like the big one in the area. So Whittlesea has a huge community fair once a year. And we get most of our advertising
Okay.
and
Definitely.
noticing about recruitment.
yeah, we definitely would like. We're actually doing a thing at Melbourne Uni tomorrow. It's all for sustainability. The repair cafe is going to be part of it as well, and hopefully we can recruit people from there. Because I think that cohort of people with students with enthusiasm and
Yep.
time potentially on their hands is a really good thing that we haven't tapped into. And yeah, and what else? Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, true.
I'm Marie from Ringwood Repair Cafe. I spoke to Rowan, so it's nice to put a face to your name. Rowan, we have a few conversations recently. We've been running for 6 years now. It'll be 6 years in November on a monthly basis on the third Saturday of each month out of the Ringwood Uniting Church, who took care of all that paperwork and insurance. So we're members of that congregation. So we recruited volunteers from within the body of the church to start with. But when we first opened, we had no idea who was going to turn up. We put it out there. If you fix things, we'd love to see you come along. And we started with a handful of volunteers from the community, and some of those, 2 of them are still with us. They come every month or as many months as they can. We have our own set of challenges, not dissimilar to what many of you are doing in terms of who's turning up, the amount of material that walks through the door that needs fixing, the stuff that can't be fixed. But it's for me. My husband Tim and I and our 4 adult children kind of pushed it to start with, and it's many of us are still there every month running that. So it's all volunteer based. There's no paid roles. There never has been. And I don't think, as much as the community would like to see us operate more often, I don't think we have the capacity to do that on a voluntary basis and we all work full time. So it really is just the Saturday on the third Saturday of the month and a couple of Facebook posts before that. That keeps us going though, and but it can grow to as big as I think that if you had the time and the energy. But when you've got other work to do, it's tricky. So I'm glad we're here on a school holiday because I wouldn't be here otherwise. I'm very happy you booked a school holiday time. Yeah.
Danielle, we'll start with you online. Sorry, I should have picked someone else.
No, that's okay. Sorry, I can't change my name, so I don't know why. Anyway, so my name's Danielle, and I work at 2 neighbourhood houses, both of which have a repair cafe. Altona Repair Cafe is at Louis Joel Arts and Community, and that was started initially in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, with funding from the Communities Environment Program, which was a federal grant. And we have got a little bit more money from a local business that's sort of keeping that afloat. And I also work at Coral Oak Creek Neighbourhood House with Mike, who's here. And that repair cafe started this year with funding from the SV grant. I guess I would just echo everything that everyone else has said in terms of, like, it is a time-consuming thing. I don't really see how without paid support. I admire people who do it totally on a voluntary basis, because I don't know whether ours would continue to thrive without like some admin support and support from an organisation. I think that that's potentially part of the reason that both have been successful, is that they have a home and there's no overheads and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I would just say how wonderful it is and how much the communities love it, and they are really much more than repairing. It's really about community building and the relationships that form and the people that come and just hang out and learn. So it's a really, I think they're really powerful things in terms of community circular economy. Yeah.
Thanks, Danielle. I might move to Michael then. Next.
I'm Michael Mink. I help run the Sunshine Repair Cafe, and we started at the start of the year. I think we've had 5 or 6 repair cafes, and we have another one on Sunday. Yeah, it's been fabulous. I completely agree with Danielle. Like it's great fixing things, but I have to say, especially after the pandemic and the lockdowns, it's great to be able to see kind of the people coming back out and getting into the community. And like, I'm pretty active at the school too, and it's hard to get people. I think people are still a little bit hesitant to get out and be a part of the community again. And the neighborhood house has been great, and the repair cafe has just been fantastic to get people to meet each other and work in the community. It's been fantastic.
Oh, thanks, Michael. Is there anything in particular you'd really like to get out of today's session?
Oh, I'm just really interested in hearing how other people deal with the common problems that come up, like like it was mentioned earlier, you're not ever quite sure which repairs are going to turn up, and you're never quite sure which people are actually going to show up with the items that they've told you about. So it's always a bit of a juggle on the day, and a bit of a juggle how much you promote versus how much you think you're going to be able to handle on the day. I mean, you always want like as many people as possible, but you also don't want people showing up and having a negative experience. So it's definitely kind of a balancing act sometimes. So yeah, just hearing how other people work through common issues.
Thanks, Michael. Rowan, over to you.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Lovely to hear your stories and hear where you're all from. I think I may be the newest addition to the repair cafes in Melbourne. I'm in the outer east in Churnside Park. I live in Croydon, but I found a good community space in Churnside Park. And Marie is correct, and I have a lot of respect for all of you for doing this, and I want to congratulate Marie because her repair cafe is wildly successful with queues around the corner. Must be quite stressful as well. And I always admired the repair cafe concept and wanted to set up my own, so I've done that. And I'm the coordinator of the Churnside Park Repair Cafe. We started in May, so it's very new. We've had 5 repair cafes and it's been really successful with more than 20 people through the door and lots of items being repaired. It's all also volunteer run and led, really try to use community development principles to, you know, scaffold skills and give other people agency to be able to do things. And there are a few others who are happy to do a bit more than just turn up for the 2 hours. So yay, because that can help lighten my load as well. And they want to be part of that process. Also, I've actually got a small list of things I think would be really useful for us to share, because it's so much more than just repairing. As someone else said, it's also about diagnosing, and it's about knowing where to get parts. And it's also about knowing where things go when they have reached their end of their life. And as you're all probably really aware, lots of shops are now doing stewardship programs, which is part of the Recycling Victoria plan. And I think if we could get together and collate one massive list of all of that, because most of those shops will be in every suburb and all the shopping centres, how wonderful that would be, and put our minds together for places where you can get parts, and recycling list. Yeah, there's quite a few things I'd like to cover. Also talking about house rules, how people are covering those. So in the Churnside Park Repair Cafe, we're using the community hub there, and we're getting use of half the hall, and it's quite a big hall, for once a month on a Sunday. And I chose to compliment Marie by not doing it on a Saturday, so I'm the second Sunday of the month. And we get the space for free, and of course we're donations based. Sort of a background on how I set it up. I used the Buy Nothing page in Croydon, where I live, and advertised for volunteers to see if people would like to, you know, big post about, do you hate seeing things going in the bin? Do you wish you knew how to fix them? Yes, yes, yes. And it just sort of built from there. One of the volunteers called around men's sheds. We got an electrical guy from that, which is fantastic. But it's sort of not wanting to grow it too much and have lots of people come and you can't reach capacity. So of course it is quite a bit of work each week. But I'm doing it all myself at the moment, and it's been okay because I'm not working full time. But I'd also like just to know how people navigate the house rules when it comes to electrical repairs. I'm covered, or we are covered, by public liability from the actual community house itself. I think knowing a bit more about grants, I know Sustainability Victoria offer grants, other places that grants might be possible, as I'm pretty new to this. And yeah, there's probably a few other things. I won't list them all now. And that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rowan. It's so nice to hear a story of someone that's relatively new to the space, but, you know, just really wanted to do this and pick it up. So good on you. And also learning from people like Marie, obviously, who have queues out the door. So,
Yeah, it was a great help.
Joe, over to you.
Oh, hello, everyone. Sorry, I was a bit late to get here. Yeah, the Pascoval Repair Cafe operates out of the Sussex Nowood House. I'm the manager of the Sussex Nowood House. It's been operating since 2022. Last year, we had 4 repair cafes last year, or events. We run them monthly, and this year in 2023, we've run each month, first Sunday of the month, starting from February. So it operates under the auspice, or under it's a program of the Nowood House, but we call it the Pascoval Repair Cafe. It's been really well received by the community. So the community loves it, and they turn up in numbers. And I think our challenge in the first year was having enough, getting enough repairers to meet the demand that was coming from the community. And whenever we put a social post up, it gets shared broadly, across the community, and we get lots of views and likes. And it's been a real, very well received, sort of initiative. What we did we then put a call out for repairers, and we've probably now got about 10 or 12 or so. And what we do is we send a text a week before the repair cafe asking who's available. And at the moment, it's sort of each month we probably get more people coming for repairs. We probably receive a few more donations, but it's growing sort of gradually and at a rate that we're able to match. And we probably have on average about 8 repairers that turn up. We've got someone who sort of does electrical, sound equipment, a couple of general sort of handy person, a locksmith, knife sharpening, and then we've got people with sewing machines and hand sewing. And we're drawing on, that there's a group called the Pascoe Vale Spinners and Weavers, and they love it. So they come along in numbers, and help in that capacity. We've got a guy that comes from a newly emerging men's shed group, Pascoe Vale Coburg, that we're sort of, supporting as well. So it's sort of drawing on, locals. I think what you were saying a little bit earlier, Danielle, resonates for us as well. It's really the community sort of aspect to it, and the repairers are forming. They're like a little bit of a community, and they come along and they bring a bit of cake or a biscuit, and we make a cup of tea and a coffee, and there's a lot of laughter and chatting. And so I think for the repairers, the buy-in for them is the feel-good factor, in that they're contributing to something really positive that's much loved in the local community, but also they're forming a little community, a little group. They sort of enjoy each other's company. They catch up once a month. So that's been a positive. So we're sort of trying to get that balance between how much demand was there with enough repairers. We call it the concierge role, and that's the role that the neighbourhood house is playing. So that's a paid role at the moment. So I turn up, or one of the staff turns up. So we make sure that the place is opened, that all the chairs, the desks, that there's the materials, the equipment. We make sure that the donations then buy the switches and, the things that we need, so that the repairers. We got a small sort of $4,000 grant from Essendon Fields, which we use to train our electrical person to do a test and tag course, and we also used it to buy tools so that the repairers don't have to bring everything, because some of them don't drive, so that there's tools on site. I suppose going forward, we're a little bit like what everyone else is saying. It's the neighbourhood house is really doing all the administration and that concierge. So it wouldn't be happening without the sort of neighbourhood house in-kind support of the facilities and the time that it takes each month to be present at the repair cafe, but also making sure that we've got all the things that need to be in place to get the repairers there, and it's advertised and promoted. So there's quite a bit of work. I think we're committed to it because sustainability is such an important issue that our community is telling us is an important issue, and it's sort of linking in with hard rubbish repairs, men's sheds, the sewing craft groups. We also do collection here of other items, and it helps to promote sort of the sustainability initiatives across across the community. So it's sort of trying to link in all those things together. I think, yeah, I didn't know about Sustainability Victoria grants. I think some grants would help. I think to make it sustainable, having the sort of reception concierge role, if we could somehow have that, have some people able to play that role. I think that's a really crucial role because it sort of is the glue. I think that for the repairers and the people seeking repairs, in just, ensuring that you've got the right, there's a good vibe basically, and that people are feeling supported, and it's not sort of chaotic, it's sort of organised. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think I've covered everything as an intro. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you, everyone. That was really great to have that context from everyone. And now for the next part of the session, I'm going to hand over to David.
Okay, so when I put forward the agenda, I had an idea that we might do a bit of an environmental analysis, like to think about what's happening local, what are the push and pull factors on top of cafes. So it's kind of, it's a thing you do in business planning kind of thing, which I thought would be good to do it almost, as an industry. But we might, just given where the conversation's going, we might talk about just some basic logistics, because that's what everybody's interested in at the moment. Yeah. So I had a number of questions here, and we had some of those that Rowan added too, around, what have you learned? How do you plan your sessions? Joe's already, was talking about that, about the concierge role, the different roles. So I was just thinking we could just do that as a big group discussion. What do people think about that as a way forward? Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing maybe is then how do you prepare and promote your session? I'm sort of opening that up as an open question. I think Joe was just talking about what they do there. Maylee, how do you do sort of?
That's right.
You're always.
It's okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of preparation with my role in communicating with the repairers, we have a set list of dates. Often when I do the interviews, I would say, can you let me know of what you're available? So then I have it in the calendar already. Sort of a running list of every month who's going to be in. Been very lucky. My core team is every month. Great. It's only occasionally they've got I've got a wedding to go to.
So you're talking about your repairers or
my
your
repairers,
or both?
In terms of my repairers, in terms of communication logistically, I think we just did I guess a team revision and gone, should we go to WhatsApp and have a team WhatsApp conversation, just checking in because it's a small team. We only have about probably 10 people in terms of our repair team. Right. Repair team and administration team as well. So I have a lot of extra support on the day. So my logistics my role is just to be floating and making sure everybody's supported, and just making sure that there's a flow with stations. Yeah. I have in terms of my event, we have a registration table. Usually there's one person on board with the computer dealing with the online bookings that we've had, that I advertise at least 2-3 weeks before the event. We use a Humanitix system, which is a free, really fantastic event system. And you can completely customize to the point of questions that you need to ask. Most important is, what is your item? What is the problem with your item? So I can entourage to the repairers before that repair day to go, is this possible to fix? So my role is to communicate with community of what's possible to repair, what's not, reminding them to bring replacement items before the event so they can fix things. So sort of helping with that streamlining. And I guess back to the repairers, they often will just text message me back and go, yeah, I'm ready for October, lock me in. And once I know, then I can set up that booking system to give them, I do a fine tune it to the point where I will say to repairers, is 30 minutes enough? Or do you need 40 minutes? Do you need an hour? So I customize the booking system according to the time So for each repairer, so people then on the booking system will just slot in what they want, but we also have found that walk-ins options.
Things.
Yeah.
Does
Yes.
that mean that you usually when someone goes to book in, they can see,
Yep.
11:30 is available?
Yep.
Kind of thing.
And they'll just book in click into 11:30.
Yep.
And put
We've
in
got
their
a bit of
details.
space for walk-ins too, you were saying.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have a bit of space. Now that my team has grown a bit, I have more than one repairer on like 2 electricians, 2 or 3 garment repairers now. I have a shoe repairer. Occasionally we'll have a furniture repairer or somebody does mechanical stuff. So
Yeah.
if I've got doubled up, then I can add, you can actually customize the bookings to, okay, there's 2 10 o'clock bookings available now, so people can see. It's very user friendly. Like there's a lot of great support. If you need to set it up, you've got a support person you can talk to. They will help you go through it.
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
And people can see that there's a bike repairer there, so it's worth bringing my bike down. I'm not going to get there and there's no bike repairer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of our social media stuff, I will promote, say, oh, I've got the bike doctors on this month, this so and forth.
Yeah.
I'll also say, oh, our garment repairers are sick at the moment, so, you know, just letting people know all the time.
Yeah.
Daniel's got a hand up.
Yep.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, sorry, but I'm just interested, Maylee, it's Maylee,
Yes.
if you have an estimate of how much time you think that does take you in terms of setting up the Humanitix system and all that kind of stuff in terms of admin and the lead up.
The beauty of the Humanitix is that you set up one and you just press replicate and change the dates. So literally, I would say to set up that online, I would say spend an hour to set it up properly. It's exactly what you want. I would say you wouldn't spend more than every month, half an hour to just set up the new link, change the dates, because if your location is the same, clearly you just leave all that the same, but you just press replicate, change the dates. They give you a brand new booking link, and then you just cut and paste.
Yeah.
Which is
Alan's
great.
got some questions, and also Brendan and Ben have joined us. So might just, before we go into the conversation, just do a quick intro of Brendan and Ben online. Hope you guys don't mind. We just before you arrived, we just gone around the table and everyone just talked about what they, whether they were from and what their organisation is and how they fit into the Repair Cafe scene.
Brendan, did you want to go first?
Yeah, good morning. Happy to. It's nice to see everyone. I am just moved into another room. I'm from an organisation, a social enterprise called Fixable. We have a online community platform for repair and reuse at fixable.co. It's basically a meeting place for people who want to do more repair and more reuse. It's we kind of like to think of it as somewhere that people can go who maybe can't make it to a repair cafe or during the week, or they're at home late at night or something like that and might have a question that they'd like to pose. They can post a question in the community, and some of our hobbyist repairers, or we have a few sort of more professional repairers on there as well, or other people who are just interested, might be able to answer the question or point them in the direction of the next repair cafe in their area if they don't know about it, that type of thing. So it's really just an online community where people can meet, ask questions, ask advice, teach and learn, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We hope that we can facilitate what the repair cafes do by being a source of volunteers. There might be hobbyist repairers or other people with some great skills who don't know much about repair cafes. Fixable would be a place where they can find out about it. We have a few repair cafes who are people from repair cafes who are members of the community. That's what we'd love to be able to help out by just connecting people. So yeah, could it make it easier for you guys to do what you do really well?
Thanks, Brendan. And Ben,
Welcome.
you able to unmute? Just want to check that you. Ben might have just sort of logged in and not quite. Okay, get back to Ben later. Okay, so Rowan, you had your hand up about, so Ben, we're just having a discussion about logistics and we're talking about a booking system. Rowan, you had a question on that?
Yeah, thanks for that. To Malay, is it, who was just speaking about her repair cafe and using Humanitix?
Yes.
Did you mention that you speak to the repairers about each individual repair and how long it will take before you book it in?
What I've done in a booking system is get an estimate of, because what we do communicate really clearly in our advertising is that it's always personal items, small personal items, not a fridge. We've had a washing machine. Yeah, one time when we can't, unfortunately. So just over time, I've noticed that different repairs will happen much quicker or slower. So I will always talk to each repairer and get an idea of how much time they need. So my electrical repairs will say, 45 minutes. My bike repairs are like half an hour. I can do it in half an hour. So it's about just customizing it to what they need. But obviously there needs to be flexibility on the day. Like if somebody needs to get a part for their bike, it's like, not a problem. You get the part, we'll try and slot you in somehow in some way. So just in terms of the Humanitix booking system, after your consultation with your repairers, you can then just literally customize your booking system timing. So I will go 10:30, bike repair, 30 minutes, and make sure that the communication to the booking person that they know it's only 30 minutes.
Can I just interrupt you there and ask, how do repairers know how long a repair will take? Because often the problem people think it is isn't actually the problem.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess it's about it's a general estimate, and we always also in my flyer for our advertising is always to say there's a range between 30 minutes to an hour for repairs, and I think people are generally very grateful to have their repairs looked at, so they understand that there needs to be sometimes more time, but also we always mention to the repairers they are assessing the repair at the beginning. So if something's a 2-hour job, they will literally say to the customer, this is a 2-hour repair and maybe we can arrange another time to do it. So
it's about managing expectations.
Managing the expectations.
So someone doesn't turn up with a washing machine. You don't have a washing machine spare and they've just plugged it into their car.
Yeah. So in terms of your advertising in your flyers and your posters, say you can just say personal items. You can even say ones that you can carry, just to really manage that expectation. And also, I guess having the phone number, people will often call or email me just to check if a repair of their sort can be done. So managing the expectations of that and giving the power of the repairers to decide whether something can be repaired for that event.
So can I check? So I mean, basically when you line up your ducks, it's about getting your repairers in first, and then working out what you can do, and then putting the slots in. Does that work for other people? Is that how you do it, or?
Sounds very time consuming to me, if I can be honest.
We have no booking system at all. They just rock up.
Yeah.
And if they have to wait an hour and a half, well, it's a free service. So that's just bad luck.
As a repairer, I don't know how you estimate repairs and slot people in. Like some repairs literally are 5 minutes. Some are giving advice. They bring in something and we can't repair it. Giving advice that's literally less than 5 minutes. And then some might take 2 hours or the whole 4-hour repair cafe session. We just don't know. I guess you can. If something's going to take too long, you can.
It's about being, I guess.
Find a place to send it.
Yeah, I completely understand. I guess it's about also being fair. If one repair is going to take the whole repair session, that's quite unfair for everybody else who might have an electrical repair that might be a 5 minutes. So,
Hayley, do you think you can get through more repairs by having a booking system or fewer repairs?
I think it's definitely helped because people people are busy. So they go, okay, I can do my shopping in the morning and then I can come in and do my repair. I think that giving them the option that they can book it in for a time that they know they can come in and they know repair is there is helpful. But we have that open-ended walk-in option as well. I say 50-50 at the moment is 50% of walk-ins do come in. So we always try and slot them in as much as we can.
Do you do any tracking of whether the repairs have taken less time than allocated?
I guess the repairers, I check in with them probably every couple of months and go, how are we going on time? But I guess we have a lot of walk-ins, so they can always slot in when the repair is
That always
free.
fills in the gap.
Yeah,
Okay.
always.
Now,
Yeah.
got some hands up here.
Yeah.
I just want to check, Rowan, have you already asked your question or did you have
Just
an additional one? And then
One
Joel.
final thing, are you taking a fee for people using a booking system? Or is it all just donation based on the day? Or are you using a tap and pay machine? Because I know some people are and it's very successful.
Yeah. We in Mernda Community House offer this program for free to community. We have a donations box and we have a tap system if people want to donate, which has been quite helpful. So
Do you promote the fact that you're taking donations? That's part of it?
no, we don't.
Okay.
I promote saying that the service is a free repair service. And on the day, if people are happy with the repairs, they're more than happy to donate.
Can I ask a question around the room? Do other people take donations or?
Yeah.
So you just ask, you just gold coin or what do you think is
They
appropriate?
seem more like $5
Notes.
these days because people
Yeah,
tap.
notes.
I find it make like whoever we have on being the concierge or reception, it makes a big difference to the amount of donations we get on how they approach people coming to sign in and fill out the form. So some people that are really good at mentioning the fact that we have, we accept donations, it's completely up to you.
Yeah.
We make that can make a big difference.
Mm.
Like we get $150 donations sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
$100 donations.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Fairly often, and that's really good.
Yeah.
That is.
Um,
So I might just throw that question. I know Daniel and Joe, you've actually got your hands up with other questions, but just ask you just quickly, what are you doing with the donations? Are you?
So we take donations, but we just have a donation box, and we really only take it if people ask about whether it's free or not. But saying that, we currently have some funding. I'm going to talk about Altona because I'll let Mark talk about Sunshine. But we have some funding at the moment for consumables. But we do have a couple of really good repairers who, if they replace a $12 switch, will say that's, you have to pay. You try and encourage people to actually cover it. So it's a bit of a conversation with the repairers as well, not just us, because. But I was just going to say, so I had my hand up for the appointments, and we do appointments, but we just do half-hour appointments for electricals at Altona, 15-minute appointments for generals because they seem to churn through it. And that the reason we did that is because we started in the pandemic and there was limits on the number of people we could have in the room. And then when the sort of limits lifted, I talked to the repairers, and the repairers opted to continue it. And part of the reason is because sometimes you'll get a whole influx of people at 12 o'clock and then people have to wait and they sit there and stare at people wanting to get through faster kind of thing. So it can be a little bit of I don't know, it can create a little bit of an edge in the room, I think. But also we kind of triage in terms of what it is. But generally we have about 3 electricals, so we don't actually book it for a specific person. We just book 5 slots per person, and then some repairers are much faster than others, so it all sort of comes out in the wash at the end.
Actually, one thing I noticed when I was at your cafes, you had stuff for children, like you had puzzles and playthings, and I know Darley, who couldn't be here today, the Bacchus Marsh one, they put people to task. They get them to sort out the milk bottles for recycling and that kind of thing. And often they said that people who come in want to be involved, so that they've come in because they want to do stuff for circular economy. So if you give them a task, well, why are you here? Can you just go out to the community garden and help us turn the compost? They'll do it. Because,
That's a really good
part of
idea.
the connection. We don't know what other people do. I thought I'd just throw that in before we get back to Joe.
We also feed them. We
Yeah.
feed them too. So there's sandwiches always. So they, yeah.
Jo- Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Joe, you've had your hand up for a while.
Oh, yeah, thanks. No, really appreciating, enjoying this conversation. Maybe because we're still new, it's good to hear, about booking systems and how that might work going forward. What we've tended to do is, the week out, find out what repairers are coming, then advertise that so that the community knows, gets a sense of, how many people are doing, sewing versus, different sorts of repairs. Then on the day, it tends to be, first in, best dressed, and then people can see, oh, there's 3 people ahead of you for a particular repair, and then we offer them, if you want to leave your mobile, if you want to come back a little bit later, because often people live locally, so sometimes that helps to manage. So people will say, all right, I'll leave my lamp, and we'll send them a text. And the other thing that the repairers do is say, look, really sorry, it's too big a job to be able to be done during the repair cafe, but we'll offer you advice. And I think it's about managing expectations you were talking about, David, that we're also promoting, that it's about a mindset and about learning how to fix, and that even if we can't fix things, you'll know if it can't be fixed, which is helpful, or where you might go. So yeah, just sharing how we're managing it at an early stage of a repair cafe, like just in the second year.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, thought I'd better put my hand up. We run the Detox Your Home service, and a couple of things that sort of came to mind for me is we have a booking system, and it's Maylee, isn't it? Maylee? Very similar, and over time we had to manage traffic flow. So what we tend to do is we try to allocate people to an hour in the day on a Saturday, and so it gives a little bit of flexibility to people. It's like you don't have to be there at 12:05 p.m, but we need to know that you're roughly going to be here in this hour time slot, and that seems to be a good way for us to kind of manage it. So if you felt like it could be a next step, something that could be considered, because for a while we ran regional events and we didn't do any bookings. And then actually what we found is there was even less commitment from people that, oh, there's an event, if I can be bothered, I'll go, but maybe I won't. And we had no idea whether there was really a need, and we found we were getting really low take up. So now we actually have a booking system for regional areas, and we are seeing improvements in numbers because there's just at least a level of commitment there. So again, if a first come, first serve might work, but also everything's about trial and error. So it could be something to consider.
And also just to add, the booking system in Humanitix also, you can customize the questions.
Yes.
In terms of our data, I'm, a big advocate that we not only do we weigh the items, we need to know if people are traveling far away.
Yes.
Whether what's the other data that I'm collecting? Location, also their email address, because we do workshops as well, skill-based workshops. It's like one in Humanitix, they start collecting the email addresses. So whenever you post the new event, they get sent straight out saying, hey, the new one's the Repair Cafe is next month. So that happens sort of
Can that
automatically.
other data you collect go back into Humanitix, or do you have a separate system?
That Humanitix will collect everything and spit it out in an Excel sheet, which is great.
Which you then, but the other information about weight or what they're
The weight, what I tend to do is we do the Humanitix booking. On the day, I will download the Excel sheet, reconfigure and add in the weight column, put in whether it's been fixed or not, and reconfigure that so that my bike repairs are all in one section, garments. Because it sort of just takes in all the bookings according to when it's been booked in. So you just have to reconfigure it to your sort of repairers. But the Excel sheet's great once you sort of have that as your template. just emulate that every month and let Excel just collect all the data.
So it's a separate spreadsheet for each month?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And does Humanitics, does that cost anything?
No, it's a free.
This is very similar to Eventbrite.
Yeah.
Like it's free, it's more for social.
Yeah, it's more
purposes.
ethical as well. Like if you do a paid event, money goes towards more community-based things. So I did a lot of things.
I just want to push on that along too, just on that, just flowing on from the booking system about the concierge and people's different experience. I'm looking over at you, Liz, because that's part of your role.
We don't have a booking system.
Oh no, but the concierge. So what are your, I guess, tips and tricks? What works for you?
Well, because we don't have a booking system, we have a lot of people sometimes that come in a bunch, and so there's waiting times.
Yeah.
Some people get quite cross. So we decided to offer them tea and coffee and make it sort of a social event while
Yeah.
we're waiting, which works for some people. We also offer them the choice of coming back later.
Yep.
And we can text them, say when your item's ready, which works okay as well.
Again, interesting because when we did our forum a couple of months ago, the back of the Marsh Neighbourhood House was talking about the benefit for them as a neighbourhood house is that it introduces a different cohort to the work of the neighbourhood house. You often have people who normally wouldn't visit a neighbourhood house because, you know, it's a social inclusion thing and you're accessing a different part of the neighbourhood. So it's the concierge bit is almost part of their, you know, it's a sales pitch for the house as well. Like, here's some of our programs, have a look at some of their garden while you're out here. And I don't know what other people think about
Yeah,
that.
definitely seeing that for all three of the ones that does bring a very which is
Yeah. No, Round's got a hand up, so yep. One.
yeah, so I think of the, like they all manage it a little bit differently. So probably Richmond Repair Corner has the most structured one. So their bookings early. They do get the occasional walk-in, but they do actively discourage that. They want people to book in advance. And so they've just rolled out a new booking system. It's through Jotform, and it pretty much automates the whole process. So people can book, change, cancel their own bookings without needing to log into a thing. It automatically sends out the reminder 2 days beforehand. But a lot of this will be similar to Humanitics.
What program did you say?
Sorry, Jotform. So also free. From there, it's linked up to Google Sheets, which is Excel, but it just means it's all in the cloud. And Excel likes to randomly throw in expenses for things with Jotform for some reason. So Excel is out. Google Sheets is in. And so what happens then is Jotform will then send each of those bookings and the updates automatically to the spreadsheet. So there's not that kind of, I mean, it's not a huge thing, but to download the stuff and then put it in and add on the weight and all that, that's done automatically. And that then becomes the radio desk info for the day. So radio desk just rocks up in the day. It's all already there. There's a drop down list for the visitor arrives, waiting room, when they first register, puts the weight of their item in, gives them an they talk about doing a number system. Right now they haven't. But then, they go up to their fixer and get changed to in progress. And then when it's fixed, it's complete. And there's another drop down list for fixed, not fixed, advice given. Yeah, very, very, very structured. And it just means that, so the reason it's all done that structured is because it then automates the stats collection as well. Which is
Can you share that Jotform?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That would be
Very
great.
easy.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
I'll send it to whoever.
Send it to me and I can circulate it to everybody.
Cool. Yeah.
who's here.
I'll do that one.
Is there a limitation with Jotform? Because I heard one.
Yeah, so yeah, there's limitations, of course. So you're limited to 5 forms
In the free version?
in the free version. Yeah, you can pay and get more, but that's I think $20, $30 USD a month to do the paid version. So recommend avoiding. So yeah, 5 forms. Yeah, you do need to use it. Then kind of, if you want to do the automation stuff, it then does mean you're also kind of a little bit locked into Sheets, which is a bit tough when you're kind of wanting to use Excel or Microsoft. It does in kind of another set of logins. There's a data limit, so if you're asking, so they often ask people to upload an image of what they're bringing along. And there's only so many images that can be uploaded in the free version, but they don't seem to have come up against that limit.
Do they have a
Yes.
not-for-profit option?
I think they do, but it doesn't do much. Like in terms of cheaper, it doesn't really, it
Make a big
didn't
difference.
really move the dial. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact numbers. But yeah, back to concierge. So yeah, people walk in, read your desk, they have that spreadsheet, and then kind of direct them to the fixer. They can't leave without going past Red Your Desk, so you can kind of make sure that they do come back and see what happened to their item, and go on out. Darebin has, I think, probably more structured things because it's a much, or at least it feels like a much larger event. They actually have dedicated ushers, so you walk in the door, the first thing that happens is you come up with an usher who's there waiting for you, says, "Hi, welcome, what's your item, and what do you like, are you booked in, what's your item? Great, here's your number, which is for your item, let me guide you to the weighing station, get your item weighed." The usher takes down the weight, very quite structured.
We'll have to improve our service.
Yeah. This is also new, actually. This has only been once as well. And just because the time before that was just chaos. Like we had double the number of people rock up compared to what we were expecting and used to. So we're like, we need to do something in this space. So yeah, weighing station, and they're guided to Red Your Desk. And then they're all checked in, and then either guided to the waiting room and the bribes, sorry, food, or to their fixer. And then ideally the usher will guide them after their item's been seen back to Red Your Desk to be like, "Hi, you know, what happened to it?" Oh, sorry, I forgot. The usher also mentions donations, like, "Hi, welcome, what's your number? By the way, we have a donations thing. We're entirely volunteer based. If you are happy and would like to donate at the end, please do." And then like guide them out the door. And Red Your Desk just sits at Red Your Desk and takes some of the information.
Just got a couple of hands, so Rowan and Mike. I think Rowan was up first and then Mike.
Thank you. Just a lot of questions are coming up in my mind, and a few of you have mentioned that to manage the flow of attendees, you're taking mobile numbers and then texting them to come back. But when I think about community development principles, really letting people stay, in my opinion, letting people stay in the community house, depending on the space that you have, is actually good, because it's meaning that they can see other repairs that are happening. It means that they can connect with other community members while they're there. So there's a lot of benefit being lost, and also your own time and energy when you are setting up a system to allow people to go and then come back again. And really, we should be hoping that new connections are made through people who meet each other. I know at my repair cafe, people, when they're waiting, are really curious to see what other stuff has been repaired. And they can have that in the back of their mind, that, oh, they fixed that tool, I didn't know you did that, or that keyboard got fixed, or an electric skateboard. When they actually sit, and yes, they have to be patient and wait and see, there's a lot of value to the repair cafe, but also to the people, because they're seeing everything that's coming through the door and what is or isn't getting repaired. They're seeing people make donations. They're soaking up the vibe. They're having a tea or coffee. So I actually feel you're limiting yourselves a bit by setting it up in that model. Depending on how much space and stuff you have, there may be certain limitations. And then some people at mine just come to have a cuppa. They've been before to get it repaired, and they just come because they like to come in and see what's going on and have a chat.
We had a couple of repairs where the repairer was about to get stuck into taking the whole thing apart, and there was someone waiting that said, "Oh, I've actually got that, and it's got a lifetime warranty. You don't need to repair it. The manufacturer will do it." So yeah, that can happen.
I'm actually interested, do anybody, like, do the repairers take people through and say how much there's got, how much, I'm just coming to get it repaired, I go and have a coffee while the repairer does their thing, or how many times the repairers go, here you go, have a look at this. This is what we needed to fix.
That's, yeah, we have a rule that they have to stay with us and that they actually have to take part in the repair.
Yes.
There's a couple of reasons. for
Yeah.
that. It actually limits our insurance liability by them being part of it.
Ah.
What,
But you
in
want to
very
teach the
theory,
skills as well.
Yeah.
Michael's smiling and nodding.
It's the
Seriously.
electronics. So if
Yeah.
someone's actually taking part in repairing and
Yeah.
something breaks,
Yeah.
they're, you know, or for, I think it helps limit that ability for someone to potentially
Because
suicide.
otherwise, it's more of a service model, isn't it? Where I'm the customer, you're the repairer. I'm going to go away, and you're going to make the magic happen, and then I walk away with my fixed item, rather than no, we're in this together. Talk
Yeah.
me through what happened. Tell me what you've tried. Let's look at it together, and maybe you'll leave with a bit more confidence and ability to help someone else next time, or help yourself next time.
There's more value in, sorry, you put that, but there's more value in the education of everyone that's involved, repairers and people coming to bring things to repair, than the repair itself often.
I know Michael had a comment, but we'll just, if this is just on this conversation, Esther.
Yeah, just a quick one, that we have like a kind of ethos that we share as well with so we've got a paper-based rego form, and within that is a kind of our ethos that talks about us being volunteers, and kind of that's kind of part of the process of people kind of joining when they come through as well.
So it's part of the preparation.
Understanding the whole kind of,
Good skits. So you have some printed stuff to tell people what we're doing in that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That's.
I'll take some on and see what that is. I would use that.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just on that point, the International Repair Cafe, when you sign up and under their trademark, you can get access to all of those resources as well. So paper-based and the logos and all of that.
How many other repair cafes are actually on that system or not?
We didn't have the budget.
Yeah.
It's £70, or it was £70.
And it's one-off.
Yeah, one-off.
Yeah, so I think we did do that.
Yeah.
You can actually just pay what you can afford. Sorry to just be piping in from the computer. It's a bit weird. I didn't pay the 70 euros. I paid 20 euros. So you can just offer an amount and they'll accept it. And then just take it out of the donations that you make.
Now we've got about 2 minutes before it's morning break. So I'll just grab Michael's comment and then we'll.
I just had a quick question. I really liked hearing about using Humanitix for the kind of reservation system. I hadn't really thought about that before, but that I can see why that makes sense. I was curious for those of you that have kind of pretty strict systems like that. How many people tend to not show up or cancel on the day? Would you say?
I would say probably 1 or 2 people out of, like, say last month we had 30 bookings, and that was probably maybe 1 or 2 people cancelled for various reasons. And that's all come next month.
I mean, it's an interesting question. If you get people to make a commitment by a booking, they might actually be more likely than to go, oh, it's a sunny day, I might go to the beach today instead of a repair cafe.
You're booked in somewhere,
Yeah. Okay, then another last question was just about, because we'd already talked about that, about evaluating success. So we're talking about how you're using your booking system. Some of you using the booking system as also a spreadsheet to record the stuff saved from landfill, so the weighing and that kind. What else do you do to evaluate how a session went? Do you like have a little bit of a team meeting at the end? Do you send surveys to participants afterwards? Do you like a survey monkey or anything like that? And again, this is it's an open question. I'm not prescribing anything, just wanting to know, share notes. What are people doing?
I would say we have lunch together. We offer our lunch for our repairers as a thank you. So it's a chance for us to just debrief and check in on all levels in terms of that day. And I guess in terms of our participants, when they come back, we always just sort of, how's your experience? Would you like to know more about other repair workshops? And so we always sort of try and get a gauge there and then. I think sending out surveys can be a bit tricky.
There's a quick question up, Deb, because you've got a particular partnership because you're doing the housing and then you've got the neighbourhood house. So do you do anything special with your group? Like, is there different communication or anything like that with
Well, we definitely promote local across the estate. We've run special session, just recently did one for the first time on the estate and just targeted that cohort, and it was really successful, wasn't it? It was really quite busy. I didn't know if even anyone was going to turn up, but
yeah.
It was fantastic. And we're going to do another one. We're talking about doing perhaps 2 a year on the estate. Because we've been running it for a while, we've found that, I mean, we've got a good setup at the church hall we're using, and being somewhere each time everyone knows where it is important. So that, because we have popped up in different locations, so it's kind of good in a way where we are now, isn't it? People know where we are, and if they miss it, they think, oh, we'll go back next month. You know, it's sort of on. It's that regular. But
with running these special ones at your community, we got people who don't speak English as a first language. They would never come to the main one. So it was good.
And older people too, maybe. Wouldn't use an online booking system.
So we did have. So one of the challenges was filling in an English form, an English written form, with especially some of our elderly Chinese community who don't have a lot of English. So, and I suppose that's for me, you know, because I knew my connection with that community, and some of those people. So I was actually able to help fill in the form for them, and so some of those translation,
You could use Google Translate.
No, I know some of,
That might be handy.
Yeah, we did have a bit with it. Some of them use Google Translate.
Now it's 11:35. I think we need to get a break. We can have the conversation, keep the conversation going.
Just
Yep.
on the cold clients, there is a tool that's an app and it can translate a whole page of text from one language to another. So it might be worthwhile having a look at those, because I'm actually an English language teacher. So you might give them a letter from the council or whatever. And you put the app, open the app, put it over the page, and everything gets translated in one go. From English
What was
to
that app?
Mandarin.
Do you know what the app is?
Well, I
Rob?
can't remember the name, but there's a few of them out there. Sorry, you will have to do a wee bit of work to find that, but they do exist. Google Translate is also another really good tool that you can use on the spot, and it will translate paragraphs of information. And they can even speak into it and it will translate it into English. So it's just getting comfortable using them, really, isn't it? I can have a look for the app because we're here till 2 o'clock. I'll do my best to find the name.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, but it's interesting because there are times where you're planning a particular repair session at a targeted audience, so you kind of get an idea that, okay, we're going to have language needs up, so you can plan for that.
Heather, just very quickly, you had something.
Just
you had
really
to remember.
quickly on behalf of Morwell, who couldn't join us today, they did surveys up to people would come, found low engagement with online surveys is often the case. They just leave out little cards with the shape of a house for their neighbourhood house, and they just say on the way out, you can write down anything you like here about the session. And they often get really good feedback about their community. It's just might be something really heartwarming and nice, or it might be a suggestion how you can improve the service. So they found that really helpful because you're capturing people, like Maylee said, on the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to very quickly also raise the point that Maylee for Mernda and also for your repair cafes, if you are funded by government, there's also that extra kind of need there to be collecting data and information. So for some of you, it's not pertinent because you don't need that data and information. And there are privacy considerations too when you're dealing with people and how you collect and use their information. But if you are moving towards or thinking about applying for funding, then some of those systems might be a necessary thing. Because I know for us, a key one is always going to be the waste that's being avoided from going to landfill. And so that data is going to be really important.
And if you're applying for a grant, it might say, how much do you think you can save in a year? And if you're not tracking things, you would have no idea. You can often talk to other repair cafes, but if you've got a little bit of a base over a month or two, you can make that estimation.
I've never seen a repair cafe that doesn't make this stuff.
Yeah, it seems to be.
You guys do well.
Yeah.
10-minute break. When we come back, thought we'd talk about the barriers to repair. So Deb Williams, no, sorry, I'm gonna get Deb Wilson. Deb Williams over there. Deb Wilson's joined us from the Toy Library Association because one of the things we wanted to talk about was the standards of repair, like what can you do, can't do, liability, that kind of stuff. And also the thorny question about how do you get the right repairers. And we've talked about electricals, everyone's talked about electricals, so we'd have a discussion on that, and that's, we've got Brendan to help us there as well. So we can take a 10 minutes. So those of you who've been online, please get up, and I'm sorry, Deb, you've just joined us. We'll get you to introduce yourself. And Ben's also, not Ben's able to contact us yet. I feel like a seance, we always do that. So when we come back, we'll do a bit of an intro of Deb and Ben, and then we'll get into that discussion if everyone's happy with that.
So 10 minutes?
10-minute break?
Yep.
So there's a coffee
10
machine
minutes,
in the
15
kitchen
minutes.
if people haven't been in there. And also bathrooms just past the lifts as well.
It is Deb Williams you've got online.
Yes.
Mix it up.
Deb.
Yeah.
I could say I've got them all with two of you on the same.
Full time and a bit more.
Not so bad as that because I'm not running everything.
Yeah.
So like, Darabin, I mean, it's still, it's probably like maybe
Well, that's one of the things I like.
Be- across all of them and 15-ish at West Pay, which is means we have to.
Well, I think you.
Yeah, I mean, Darabin's done every 2 months and like I'm not the one who's coming and
I get out.
Yeah,
Just so no.
Yeah, sure.
And she's my mentor.
Yeah.
I went to before I started. I went to various cafes.
I think for some.
Yeah. I went to various cafes to see how they set
It's
up.
very.
how they set up. So it was really great.
Amanda.
Yeah, that was so great.
Yeah. So yeah, they're still there and they're still, so they do most of the, I'm more kind of like, I'm on the daily stuff. They do, like I'm the one who
Yeah.
works that kind of back end. Yeah.
To feedback, yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I did do one good, but there was another hidden job.
Cheryl's like, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, all right.
She had to be like, and this is for you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, which is how, and then, like that's how I got linked into like Richmond and, like Richmond and Bravo doing the same kind of projects.
That's.
Because they were
Well,
like.
it's very good. I mean, that, in a way, to me, is good. She's gone and found someone to help her, so it doesn't put the pressure on you to do it,
Were you there the day that
On a guidebook.
someone came in?
Do something like that.
I've been driving
Yeah.
up.
I think that's kind of, because like as part of, because there's
Marina fixed
3
it.
different things I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And everyone's like part done.
Asking. for
Attention.
donations.
Yeah.
And you know, that Repair International, like,
And this
International
really expensive.
also has stuff as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, like, I think there are.
Yeah, it's a bit of a lottery, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've had some really big donations from such small repairs.
Yeah.
and
I'm
nothing
starting
for
to wonder
someone
whether.
that we've repaired this,
It's
this,
like
and
a
this
local,
from.
like-
That's how it's
Really-
good. Sometimes I've noticed
Yeah.
that one repair might get not much, and then, or some guy comes in, remember that guy who gave $50 or something? He just, and I don't even think he got anything repaired. I think he ended up
Yeah.
getting all this really good advice, but he was
Oh,
sat down with the repairer and
Yeah.
learned all this stuff, and he was so impressed. He,
Some people are generous. and
Yeah,
some
they
people
are,
leave,
like-
Yeah, I guess that's what.
there's some of our people
I guess,
too
and I guess it's.
aren't in positions to leave a lot of money either, so.
Yeah.
is.
In some cases,
Yeah, like I
yeah,
mentioned,
case
it makes a
study
big
here.
difference who's
Yeah,
on the
they
set
definitely
and how
do.
they kind of sell the concept of Stonehenge.
Yes.
And, by all means, yeah, just pay what you feel, but if some, the repairers, our repairers are volunteers, they do spend a lot of time and some of their consumable resources to repair your thing.
Do you use your donations to pay your repairers?
I'm really considering that, because we don't have many overheads, we don't pay rent for our place, we don't, we've got a commercial coffee thing that, well, it's very old, but yeah, we've had this all set up and people pay for coffee.
Because
I
I
charge $2 a coffee.
I came through
There's
this
a fair bit of money
via,
generated from that. And all our
actually,
repairers
so
bring their own
that's
tools, so we don't actually have many overheads. So we do have a pool of money that we haven't spent on anything yet.
Yeah.
Well, we're a bit different then because
That's what I'm-
we use grant money for the tools. and
Okay,
stuff.
Yeah, so we've built up a tool
Okay,
library.
right.
Yeah.
So have you come?
I think that's useful, but there's also.
sorry,
No,
yeah.
no.
There's lots of repairers that like to bring their own tools.
Yeah,
because they're
It's
comfortable.
both, some bring their own.
It's good to
use.
So, yeah,
They get us to buy what they need
okay.
and we use the grant money for that. So we use the donations to give them some money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So some
I think
people
that's
they'll
a
only
good
get
idea.
$20 and somewhere they might get $40.
It's some, and it doesn't by any means cover their time.
No, it doesn't,
or
but it's
skills,
just
but
thank
it's
you.
something
But it's to
absolutely.
go,
It's like
help them even with their own, if they have got their own
Internally, just like.
Yeah.
materials or they need to replace stuff, you know.
absolutely anything that is out of pocket for them we can cover.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, could you
Yeah,
make sure you got
said
these
to
the
you,
next time?
yeah.
Absolutely. So I think paying the repairs, we're not really a charity as such, but like, where does our profits go beyond that day? And I think, paying the repairers, I think is a good.
Someone was quite demanding, well, where is this money going?
Yeah.
And I said, it's going to the people who've just given you a free service.
Yeah. It's a fair enough question. But
Oh,
they should,
they're nice,
I know.
that's why I thought I'd better leave them. I have a-
How you going?
Yeah, good. Do you have Wi-Fi or internet on there at the moment?
I'm just going by my mobile.
I was
There is a.
gonna say,
Oh, there's free Wi-Fi, guys, so
QR code.
that's the
Yeah.
password.
Yeah, if you could share that job form, that. I think you go share it.
I was gonna get the link for you now on your laptop so you can just have it.
Yeah,
and be
okay.
like,
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Have you got? didn't know.
Probably the easiest way to get it off the top of my head is if you go to Richmond Community Learning Centre, they've got the booking link live at the moment. So you can even have a look through it, or even just like export it into Dropform. Do you have a Dropform account?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So Richmond Community.
Learning Centre.
That's the one, yeah.
Yep, that's it. And then it was under activity. That would be Victor. Oh, there you go, Richmond Repair Corner. And that will should take you straight through to it. Just like put it on so you just take that link and
Yeah.
go to your Jotform account and create a new one.
Okay,
It'll let you just clone it.
okay.
And I'll also
Start from scratch and then.
Yep, start from scratch. And then it's a card form. That's weird. Why didn't it take? If you go back, go back to the home page again. Click on the Jotform top left. Create. At the top left. Here we go. Import now. And then clone existing. No, from the web page actually. That should copy across most of it. Do you want me to talk you through quickly? So this first thing comes up. So new booking, people click new booking. That's actually come through the preview. Yeah. Mention that, make new booking. That's the disclaimer. So that's all digital now. So rather than people like having to read and sign a paper thing today, they can just read that, click yes, no.
And, so you've got another version of this in that for like on or on a web.
They literally just use this to book.
Oh, they use the same
Yeah.
format.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So you have a laptop. used to do that?
Yeah, so there's a laptop there on the day they can use,
Yeah.
but because it's, you know, particularly if this is Richmond and they really want people to book it in advance, so they
Okay.
don't take, but yeah, Darabin has a device there that people can use, or there's a QR code.
Yep.
And they can scan the QR code and do it on their own phone on the day, and there is a hard copy as well at Darabin. So yeah,
Is that a small?
yeah, yeah.
Being run past your lawyer or?
We have someone who works in insurance and they looked
Okay,
at it,
all right,
so
good.
yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
many words.
That's what we're going to talk about next.
yeah.
I think, which is really cool, but
Yeah,
it
definitely.
annoys me beyond because I do everything myself or feel like that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So
Um,
because like this is a legal thing, if you click no, it doesn't let you do the yes, it takes you to that, just checking something for now.
Yeah.
Email.
No, it's only coming to me.
Yeah.
And what is Jotform's, what is Jotform's, how do they keep your data and people's data? Do you have a statement for that kind of stuff?
We don't have like Jotform has their privacy thing. We don't
Yeah.
have one in there in particular. What I'm pushing for is for people's contact details to be deleted once we don't need them anymore. So we take the data we need, which is postcode, and you know, if they sign up to go in the or whatever, then they'll add it to the mailing list.
Yep.
But I'm really trying to push for us not holding on to that stuff because we don't want to be responsible for it.
Yeah,
Basically,
true.
is what I'm pushing for.
I mean, so you're collecting name,
It's names, email address,
postcode,
postcode plus minus phone number. That's it.
an optional phone number, or a phone number.
Optional.
Optional phone number.
Very
Yeah,
optional
okay.
phone number.
Well, so those, they're
It's
low,
not, yeah, it's low risk stuff.
low risk stuff.
And people can
because
give us a
it's out
fake
there
name,
anyway.
and, like we don't care,
Okay,
like,
yeah, cool. So, yeah, you could even say that, just something we can
Yeah.
identify you as.
it's really just for identification.
Yeah.
basically. And like for brand data collection. So if you go back to previous for a sec, I don't know if it's useful for you. If you go down, if you click on a level one. So people were struggling to understand what this was when they were looking at it. So it's name. So we added in this page, for this one specifically, so they can actually see but it only pops up what they're looking for.
My plate or your
That
plate?
is your plate, sorry, I'm not touching.
Didn't want to steal it from
No.
you.
So you
So
might have a
that's,
similar thing for chat things.
yeah, exactly, for anything that's not super straightforward and about your item, and then it's really standard.
Polishing my toaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really
Oh, two.
Yeah. This was the.
I'm a tea girl. Is it?
Yeah.
So that's what people see on the day. And then, yeah, that goes through to a spreadsheet.
And that works nicely all the time.
And you can see.
And so back on that form that had a number of people available, is that something in which you said? In these kind of, all these two availables and one.
Oh, yeah. So if you click on this, the you, and then click on the list one.
Yeah.
Standard, and you can enter all that there. So that's the, so you manually type.
How do you go without any
existing?
So if you come with
Areas that are beyond your
Does that
family
go
or
down?
We don't just go along with it, we just like, Tim, my husband,
And I've got
this
it
was
set
stuff,
up
he'll
for
just
this particular one.
have a go, look at stuff, diagnose, he's done
When people get
I'm a bit of a cuckoo clock person, because lots of person to bring in there.
So-
You put one photo up of somebody fixing a cuckoo clock and they all come running. But no, we put a call out for volunteers at the right at the beginning, and every now and again I do the same. But we often have people come in. I'm just coming to have a look.
Yeah.
And we'll have people go, yeah, I do fix things. I go, great. I'm going to set up a table. So we
Yeah,
just
they turn into.
I'm about interviewing. I don't interview them all. Set up a table, grab some chairs. What have you got? Some tools? We can borrow these. All right, off you go. Because often I've got 15 people downstairs waiting
So this is
for
the best
something to
place
get
to look at
fixed,
it,
and I
unless
just
you're on your desktop.
if you're here and you're keen and you think you could fix something,
So, because
let's
it's
give it a
allows
go.
you to-
And
so someone-
because I've got a core of fixers that are there all the time, I usually
no,
sit
no,
them
no,
next
it's
to
not. This is
someone who's been there a long
literally
time, and
just-
that just gives them, you know, support or advice or borrow tools or
whatever, and often our
Well, yeah,
repairers
You
will
can then, I mean.
talk to each other and help each other if they're coming
Yeah.
across
But
that
you
they
could also
can't
manually
fix.
change it.
But,
That was clearly electrical.
Yeah, we have
to
to things like
where we can't fix something. That goes
Yeah.
to the side, so that's.
There's quite a few.
It does that, it does it itself.
Probably about
Yeah, to the machine, and that's.
It's our too big.
We did it that way one because
No, but
like this doesn't really allow people to exercise it. Take apart. And then
Yeah.
we wanted that separation so that the volunteers on the day don't have access to all these people.
We sometimes do that diagnosis at the reception. Can you get it out of the bag? Let's have a look. Can you actually unscrew it?
That would be me doing that, and I
Yeah.
can't always tell whether it's
Yeah.
repairable, so I have to go to repair.
It's more about can it be opened? If it can't even be opened, if you can't see where screws are, like we just go.
How many different screws there are in the world?
I know, and all the ones that you can't get to.
Like automatically with specialised equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great.
Them to talk about their stuff, mate, that's a good segue into this.
Yep, go for it.
I'm happy for you to take control whatever you like, David. Control
Yeah,
me up in the right way.
Rein.
Take the reins.
Okay, everybody, I'm gonna draw us back together and hopefully people who are offline are not far from their cameras and can switch themselves back on. Just doing a quick introduction. I've got Ben and Debbie back with us, so I might just ask Ben to give us a quick introduction. Earlier on, we went around the room and everyone said, you know, where they're from, what their organisation is, and their interest in attending the forum today. So I might start with you, Ben, if that's okay. And then I was going to segue into Debbie because you're into the agenda item. Ben, can you hear us? Yep. Now you're on mute.
Okay, here we go. I'm not so familiar with this technology. Thank you for your patience. Good initiative, David. Thank you so much for pulling this together. I've been fixing things. I'm more of a fixer than an organizer, so I've been involved for fixing things all my life. So it's a great passion of mine. I've attempted to set up a cafe in the Montmorency community group, but the community group itself failed. So down the gurgler went the whole thing. And now I'm particularly involved with the Warrandyte community at the Mechanics Institute in Warrandyte, their cafe there. And it's run by another David and his network of people. And it's extremely busy. And it seems that what I'm hearing in the conversation today, we apply a lot of that knowledge there. My interest in coming along today was really just to see whether there was an unusual aspect to a repair cafe that none of us had thought about. So I think we're all on the same page here, which is wonderful. So I'm looking forward to what you perceive are your outcomes, David. And I'm also very curious as to what SV are doing in this space and what you can do for us. So that's me.
One thing was actually raised in the morning tea, and I'm just going to throw that up there with a couple of people said, oh, look, it'd be great if we had kind of a best practice manual or something like that we could share. And I know that each group have slightly different needs. So I mean, we were just talking about the difference between having a booking system, which works for some cafes, and not having it. Depends on, you know, your resources. But I think it's something we could, as this capability, develop a resource like that, collaborative, if people want to participate. So that I'll just put that out there as something to think about for our discussions this morning. Now I'd like to ask Debbie to introduce herself, and then I'll get into the next topic item.
Great. Hi everybody, sorry I'm not there in person. I'm the CEO of Toy Libraries Australia. There's about 380 toy libraries across Australia and about 130 in Victoria. And in Victoria, most of them are run by incorporated associations, so local communities, lots of mums involved who are running not-for-profit on behalf of the local community. So probably similar to many of your organisations. We a toy library does what it sort of says on the label. It's like a book library, but there's toys. So it's a membership-based organisation. And as I was saying, we're not council, most of them are not council run in Victoria. So our sustainability folk, we've been around for, well, there's been toy libraries in Victoria for over 50 years now. And we've sort of come from the early years perspectives, but our sustainability sort of focus is the borrow, not buy part of it. But we also significantly extend the life of toys through repairs or grouping toys together and the like. And the reason why I'm here is one of our main barriers to extending the life of toys is our insurance requirements. So I think I'd be interested to hear the conversation coming up, but I think probably the main difference between what you're doing and what we're doing is we are then maintaining ownership of the toy and lending them out to lots of different families. So our insurers said to us in the last year, it would be best if you just buy new toys and throw them out as soon as they break at all, which is totally the antithesis of what we want to do. But we have a lot of sort of toy safety standards and the like that we need to comply with as well. So it's going to be a priority for us to work out how we can do repairs better, how we can use 3D printing and the like for replacement parts, all of those kinds of things that extend the life of toys, and how to get over our sort of insurance and safety barriers.
Yeah, and I think that sort of leads to this topic about the barriers to repair. So some of the challenges that we're facing. So before the break, we were talking about, okay, how do we organise and how we're doing things now, but also what are some of the challenges? So I've sort of lumped under that. Well, let's talk about the standards that might be required for repair, and particularly electrical, I'm sure, is something that you all want to talk about, but also toys and child-safe items, such like things like baby carriers, and what do you do about that? That goes back to Rowan's point about what do you do for stuff if you can't fix? What are the resources? So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, because it also sounds like everyone's got some solutions towards that as well. And also the general question, the thorny one about how do you keep your where do you get your repairers from, and particularly those challenging items. I don't know, because I remember Mike and I, somebody wanted to have their earbuds, like your little ear things repaired, and it's like, that's a really specialist kind of thing. And I know that goes into the whole right to repair rabbit hole, which we will not go down today. But if people are happy to talk about that, is that
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, we'll kick off with that question then about the what do you do about toys and standards of repairs with toys and things that might have a safety aspect? Do you have policies in place, or you're relying on your repairers to guide you on that? How does that?
We probably do rely on our repairers to make a judgment call on that. We do get people, they must sign a waiver before the item gets seen. This is regardless of which item, basically saying, we are volunteers, this is entirely at your own risk.
Yeah.
So just like divesting ourselves of all responsibility that we possibly can.
Yeah.
I think that's the same as us. Do we actually have them sign, or is it just on the form that kind of says it's the onus, we're similar disclaimer. Yeah, bit of a.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's implicit too when you're coming along. Maybe it needs to be more explicit, but
ours is explicit because our insurance was like, it needs to be explicit. So we do it with it all. I think.
Yeah. I guess when I was doing research for setting up the Repair Cafe, we went to Darebin, and I noticed that waiver, and that was right at the reception registration table, which we also do as well. So with every repairer, whether they booked in or they've walked in, they have to read that. So then they understand, I guess it's again the expectation. So understanding, so okay, we'll try, but there's no guarantee, and we have no intent of doing that way.
What have you been doing? Because you've been running for a long time.
Yeah, we use the waiver as well as a sort of signal as they come in, and I think a little bit, Charlie, like you're saying, when you involve them in the repair as well. So there's as much there. We do test all electrical items before we take them beyond the reception area, just to check that they're not going to blow the system. We don't tag though when they're done. At the moment, we don't have a tester and tagger, so it's something like that. Is possibly looking at grant options and using donations and things like that to do something like that would be quite useful. But generally it's the way, but we've had zero trouble in 6 years. Nobody's come back to complain that their item no longer works or whatever. We don't supply spare parts though or anything. We tell them to go down to JCar in Ringwood and buy what they need and bring it back. And if they bring it back the same session, that's fine, or if they might bring it back the next month. But we don't actually supply. The only things are consumables like tapes or glue and things like that, and then we just take that money out of the donations tin. But generally, in terms of covering our back, our insurance is all covered by the church that we operate out of, and then involving them in the repairs as much as possible. Yeah.
Grant's got a question about the testing and tagging. So I think Mike, who's I think he's offline at the moment. I know they have started with testing and tagging too, so I know there might be something worth knowing who's got testing and tagging facilities.
Yeah, I can, that's what I wanted to speak about too.
Yeah,
Do you want me to go?
Yep.
So there's a couple of the big charities. So Vinnie's and Salvo's, we have funded them to increase their testing and tagging capability. So we funded machines, we funded the upskilling of staff, and they're getting more and more into that space of, selling electrical goods, which for a time it was kind of like, too hard basket. So yes, there is options there if we have another funding round in the future. That option has been there previously. But equally, it's about that, we talk about encouraging sharing. I wonder if there is a way that, if you've got these entities that have this, that's something we could be tapping into as well. But just a thought.
Can I just clarify, Candace? So you're saying with Vinnie's and Salvos, that's for their own stuff. That wouldn't be for groups like us coming into at the moment.
At the moment,
yeah.
But I'm just wondering, if they've got the equipment and they've got people they're training up, are there opportunities rather than everyone then having testing and tagging machines? Maybe there's a better way. But still, if there was a need, we
Worth
have funded
asking
that.
your local
Yeah.
charity shop, one of the bigger ones, as you
Yeah.
say, are they on the list to get the testing
Yeah.
tagging?
Yeah.
Is it something you can, tap into that resource?
Worth asking the question
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
That's what we've done in Darebin, like as a council area. So TD, which is doing the Darebin Repair Cafe, got funding to get 2 machines and train 4 test and taggers 4 or 5 years ago. Around when things were getting set up. And since then, we have had we're onto our next lot of test and taggers now. So we've got another 4 now, because the first one was moved out of the areas that got sick or whatever.
Can I ask, get a sense of how much that machine cost?
The machine is about, so we got the cheapest one that was still decent, and that was for, how much was that one? $750. I just looked it up recently.
Yeah.
Richmond's looking.
Yeah.
But that's the machine is, even though it's a big cost, it's a once-off, and we've actually found that it's not the biggest cost in that space.
Sure.
So yeah, machine
And the
is
training's
that.
probably once a year or something, is it, to renew the training?
There's maintenance, so the machine is supposed to be calibrated. There's no rules, but the recommended thing, and apparently it's more a commercial recommendation, is once a year.
Yeah.
Darebin's now doing that once a year because we've expanded, because we're now sharing that resource through other communities.
That once a year, that's the machine? Or
That's
is
the
that
machine.
so the
Sorry,
people
yeah,
get
that's the
trained
machine.
for it,
The
they get
training is once.
off.
Yeah.
And it's around about 500.
And that's,
Per
if you want to
person.
do, if you want to do the training in person,
One
it's
day.
$500
Yeah.
1 day course.
If you get a
Online,
big group together, you can
it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And our latest round, like our last 2 test and taggers preferred the online course because they said they got more information and they had enough confidence that they didn't need a person there showing them, because they had the resource of the other test and taggers as well.
Yeah.
So they actually did the online course, which is $250, and that's given all of our test and taggers a whole lot more information than the in-person course. So that's worked out well.
The in-person, I got to do the in-person course, and I think it was I would have been be much more confident to do that in person because you're there with the machines.
Yep.
You get to trial different items to know how to do it properly.
Yeah.
As a non-electronic person,
Yeah.
I felt quite confident after the end of the course, which was good.
Yeah.
Part of the course that I did is also quite a large online component. It's a full OHS, accredited sort of thing. So yeah, many hours of reading and going through all the sort of the quizzes. So it's quite a commitment, but it's very thorough.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Whether that might be something that SV could fund a bunch of repair cafes to do once a year or something might be.
Yeah,
really
I think,
good, or-
I don't know if there's any way you can do like a train the trainer thing, because I think that was the thing that the Salvos
Yes.
did was, it
Yeah.
wasn't just about getting a few people to do the training, but
Yes.
get somebody who's going to be there in the long haul for Salvos, keep on training, because they knew that they would have turnover in all their shops.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right, they do. They have a particular role or even a couple of roles. Maybe I know at Vinnie's, someone that, does that train the trainer.
Now, I just want to check, Rowan, have you got your hand up from the previous question, or have you got a different question you wanted to add? Because if not,
Oh, you're on mute. Brown.
It's all related. So when you do train the trainer, is that an extra level of certification you need to pass for tag and test?
that I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure. We haven't, so for the people who are already testing taggers who've been training our new people, that's not been an official capacity. That new person still needs to do the official course to get certified. It's just that rather than us paying the expense or like the extra $200 or so to have an in-person training where you get to have hands on the machine, that they're getting from being mentored by the existing test and taggers. So
And
that's
then they do certification online.
And yes, the actual certification is still a separate online course.
Imagine three people in a room to do that online course with someone that's done the in-person course.
And
That would be really
and that would
beneficial.
really work as well. Yeah.
I guess another thing to add is if you're, in terms of the volunteering call out, when you do your PDs, a position description, with my electricians, I actually specifically said that I would like them to have a test and tag accreditation. That just saves us having to pay for them to get trained. So we just have the machine and they know what to do.
Yeah.
So they just come in with their toolbox and know how to use the test and tag. That saved us a lot of money by just being really quite specific. And I guess they can then maybe train or train others who are interested to learn how to do the test and tag machines there.
Yeah.
And having at least one person who is actually a qualified electrician or electrical engineer is actually that has that certificate is actually just saves a lot of time.
Is it only an electrician that can do it, or can an electrical engineer also do it without having to do the course separately? Because I have an electrical guy who's done a bachelor in electronics engineering. He's retired now, and I wasn't sure if he would need to do the tag and test as a standalone course. I got it recently, another electrician, but he hasn't been an electrician for 30 years. He's been in sales. So, if he's not confident, you think you'd need to pay, but does he paper have to do the tag and test course? Does anyone know the answer?
Yes, for both of those.
Yes. Charlie's saying yes.
If you're an
for both.
electrician, you can do test and tagging, but an electrical engineer or someone that's studied, got a bachelor or even a master's, still has to do that certification.
So electricians are okay, but other degrees are not.
Yeah, and electricians will love to tell you that if you ask them on Facebook. They hate electrical engineers.
Oh, they do different things. And then is it a multimeter? Is that the name of the machine that they use to do the tag and test? Is it a multimeter?
It's an advanced version of that. Some multimeters can do insulation testing, but not all. And insulation testing is what the test and tag.
Right, because there's a guy with a multimeter machine and I had no idea what it actually does, but he's also not an electrician, so I need to stop him doing that straight away.
No, not necessarily. So his device may do that, but he may not. Right, that's one thing. but it may do that installation testing, but he may or may not have the certification to do an official testing tag.
And a multimeter might be used for other things like
That's-
working out
that's
whether it's
right.
current
Multimeter
going
can
through
do
the
a lot of other
Yeah,
things.
Yeah, and often the test and tag training companies will actually sell the test and tag machines as well. There was quite a lot of different variations to see, and of course we got the cheapest one, which is fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine for your purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we've got someone else has joined us, Sarah Weber from Brunswick. So I might just pause just for a second for Sarah to introduce herself. And then I also wanted to bring the question back to Debbie about standards for toys and what are some of the things you might want to talk about there as well. But I'll ask Sarah to introduce herself first. So Sarah, just as people have been joining us, we've been asking them to say, where you're from and your interest in the forum.
Sure thing. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Weber. I'm from the Brunswick Tool Library. In my day job, I'm a researcher in digital technologies at the University of Melbourne. So with the Tool Library, I've been volunteering there for about 4 years now, on and off. I'm on the board, and I'm also currently helping to organise the repair cafes, and we're thinking about various models that we might use going forward to avoid trying to repair things which can't be repaired, and to encourage people to be more mindful about what they attempt to get repaired and have a go at it themselves if appropriate. That's where we're coming from, and so I'm keen to be part of this conversation.
So, Debbie, I just put it back the question about the standards and repairs. So what are some of the concerns, say, with the toys being repaired, and also what are your thoughts about like the relationship between toy libraries and repair cafes? Should there be some kind of formal thing? Like what's...
Yeah, so especially toys for children under 3 have a lot of very strict standards attached to them. As you can appreciate, small parts and children can not be a great combination. So we need to ensure that we're meeting the specific Australian standards that apply to all of those toys. So there's obviously an educational element that's required to know what those standards are before you can be assured that any repair is meeting those standards. So for example, we've had toys donated by men's sheds and the like, where they clearly don't understand what those standards are, and they would actually be dangerous if they were played with young children. So I'm listening to the conversation. I'm thinking like a relationship would be great. I think we would probably need to develop relationships with specific people associated with the Repair Cafe movement who understand what those standards are, because as I was saying earlier, we can't just put up a sign and take no responsibility for the quality of our toys, because it's part of we're lending them and we're taking them back. So we have a sort of ongoing commitment to the quality that they're in, which is different to if it's an individual's personal toy. But I think for the repair cafes, it would, you were talking earlier about, guidelines and manuals and the like. If toys are something that you do repair often, I think maybe we could support with sort of our guidelines around what the sort of toy safety standards are that could be a reference for repair cafes as well.
Debbie, it's Candice here. We joined the toy library when we had our little one. It was awesome. And then going into COVID, we sort of let it lapse. But I had a couple of questions. One is those standards are set by, in Victoria, Consumer Affairs Victoria, right?
No, these are the Australian New Zealand safety standards. So they're not Victorian specific.
Do they provide you, like, do they run sessions with you around those things to help build your capability?
No, it's actually the opposite. So all of the Australian standards are not available unless you pay hundreds of dollars to get copies of them. So we're going to be working with the Australian Toy Association to we've just become members there to kind of build some access to those resources. But it's actually a really significant issue that the general public cannot access free of charge what the standards are. The State Library used to have them, but they no longer do because it's owned by a private company.
Wow. Even electricians have to pay to get the standard.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
It is. The other question I had, Debbie, sorry, is do you tend to, you know, when you're thinking about risk, obviously, do you tend to step away a bit from items that have batteries? Like, I'm just kind of curious how you deal, like, what are some of the things you're dealing with?
Yeah. The requirements for toys changed recently around button batteries in particular. And so there's now specific safety standards around those. Most of our toy libraries are removing most button batteries totally from their collection. And I think you'll see a move away from toy manufacturers and having button batteries at all. Some toy libraries don't have any toys with batteries, because then we come back into some of those so those other requirements as well. If you have rechargeable batteries, then you need to have test and tagged battery chargers and the like. So we even got advised that we should be so we had to develop last year specific instructions on charging lithium batteries, for example, and that we had to provide the cords to charge them with and the like. So you can start to see the layers of complication that that can come really quickly in the space.
Yeah.
So in terms of sharing this information, Deb, is it, do you have like something on your website that repair cafes could link to and get this information, or?
We have guides for our members on how they need to manage repairs, but it's behind our membership portal. But if repair cafes, or I could send it to you and you could send it to the repair cafes. I'm not sure if you have some sort of information repository that you all share. But if you did, we'd be happy to share that with you. But I think we're at the stage where we need to develop something substantially more complex, because we have a large turnover of volunteers as well, and I think we're probably going to need to get to the stage where anything beyond sort of replace the part is done by somebody with some more training than what we provide presently.
Right. So I mean, in terms of, I mean, I guess it's a general action point from this meeting.
Yeah.
If you can give us, we can get into that point, and then I guess that's something we can talk about. So I know that you guys have WhatsApp groups and things, so I don't know if there's central point or there's a couple of points. I know when I was trying to contact everybody, and I'm still getting people trying to get into the meeting. But you know, there's different lists of repair cafes around.
I know in Victoria there's a Facebook coordinators group.
Yeah.
So
that's
a really great setup.
So I can get that information and get that to them. So I mean, there's the general question about what some of the standards are that might be useful. And then there's a separate question that Sarah's put into the chat, which it is down on the agenda, more about how can we put pressure on governments to increase the access.
Mm-hmm.
So a general question about, you know, an advocacy role as a group. So we'll talk about that.
It's really hard for you to meet those standards if you don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the general, at the moment, I guess we've got the general waiver saying, you know, where it's up to you, your responsibility. But also, I guess it would be useful if even the general public don't know how dangerous it is. I signed the waiver, not knowing how dangerous this particular toy might be. So whether that's something that you need to think about when you do your screening process, if people buy.
Does everyone get a lot of toys coming through, or?
We don't. We get a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the
Are they,
second,
are they mostly electronic toys that are coming in for repair?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's mostly.
Yeah.
Bit of wiring's come off, or
Yeah.
batteries needs cleaning, or this points
yeah,
need cleaning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are they toys for older children? Are they more like, video games? Or are they more, racing cars? Or are they more,
There
It's
wouldn't
very
be,
young
not too
children.
many under 3, I wouldn't think. We don't get a lot of stuff that would affect children under 3, but might depend on the community that you're in the housing estate, you might actually get a lot of little kids stuff.
I think that's sewing repairs are our biggest one. Would you say this?
Yeah.
yeah. And then I guess the other question was just about also then with repair relationships between toy libraries and repair cafes, and whether that work with your model anyway, because you're sort of, you're geared to having a particular repair events. And I don't know how that would work with toy libraries, whether they would go, well, we've got, a dozen toys that need to be fixed, and you go, well, let's organise something. We've got a, repairer who can help you facilitate that. I'm talking out loud, I'm just like thought bubbles, I'm not suggesting.
Darabin's got, for Darabin, it would be, maybe the repair cafe would link a toy library and a fixer, but it would then become a conversation with this particular fixer. We've done that with other organisations.
Right.
Like basically, I guess, loan out our fixers for other organisations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just means that because another organisation tends to need a specific skill set, which is the case for the toy libraries as well.
Yeah.
And then, you can develop a relationship and train a specific fixer or fixers.
Yeah.
So I think for Darabin, I think that probably what would happen with the toy library as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also a case of, I'm really mindful that my repairers are volunteering.
Yeah.
So often at least 50% of them are looking at establishing their own employment. So if it's a case of bridging a relationship with repair toy libraries, whether we make sure that our repairs get paid for their time and skill, because there is a lot of skill that needs to be really valued in that way. Some people might, if they're retirees and they're like, I've got heaps of time, I can come in, no problem. But there are a cohort of repairers that are genuinely really wanting to start their own businesses. So I'm really mindful that we need to really value their skill and time and actually pay them. So whether it's a possibility of having some sort of grant or funding that can really,
To take it a step back, in terms of your roles as coordinators, is that something additional you go, well, we could probably, I don't know what the volume would be like, to just, occasionally facilitate that discussion with, okay, Repair Cafe from, Brunswick has, Toy Library from Brunswick has got, a dozen toys, and Toy Brunswick knows of a repairer who could help, so I'll just forward it to them and they can decide if they want to do that or not. Is that, because then I think that goes back to the same contact or communication point to also talk about toy standards that can be shared with repair cafes, and again, use it if you want to or not, use the information if it's.
Yeah, I mean, how often would you need to repair toys in the library?
So we constantly, so each toy library will constantly have some toys that they're repairing. It probably, there's probably a step with us first around setting guidelines around when we think repair is safe and feasible, because we don't really have those at the moment. There's repairs happening all the time. Something will get a screw put into it or whatever, or something will be sewn up or the like. There's probably more complex things where a level of skill, as you were saying, expertise is actually required to do the repair, and that's probably when it might need to look more broadly.
Ram, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I was just curious to understand what the problem is and what the most commonly found type of repair is needed on toys. Is it, I mean, even what type of toys do toy libraries accept? Do you take things with batteries? Do you take electrical things? Do you have them, sorry? Is it wooden things that get broken? Are they plastic? Is it just a case of having someone who can 3D print things?
Well, at the moment, things we're telling our toy libraries not to do 3D printing, for example, because we don't have guides for them around how to do that safely. That's why I'm sort of saying I think there's a whole sort of piece around setting the guidelines and the parameters for repair in a toy library situation. For example, it's very different if you're repairing the roof of a doll's house than if you're repairing a scooter or something that's going to be weight bearing as well, even if they're both made of wood. So it's everything and anything and everything. I guess the wooden toys are probably the main ones, but then also missing parts, and so we're looking at that sort of 3D printing type space as well. I'm not sure if any of you have any expertise in there, but we're just going to need to work it out and develop some guidelines around both where you can get designs from, but also what materials you can use with the 3D printing and what sort of, you know, machinery and the like, all of those things, all of those sort of technical elements we need to address.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask a general question then, just around insurance? Because I mean, it doesn't seem to be an issue, but I just thought I'd ask it there. Like, do you have any challenges or any problems with getting insurance, or has it created obstacles in what you've needed to do? It sounds like things are pretty. You've got your insurance, you've got your waiver, everything is cool. They haven't had many complaints about the repairs, so you haven't had to put a claim in. But I just wanted to throw that out there to anybody who might want to comment on that.
We have insurance through Moonee Valley Sustainability, but the insurance company specifically said we can't do repairs on bikes, which is just bizarre.
Wow. Really?
We still do repairs on bikes, but we have people understand that, yeah.
Not insured.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and that was really bizarre.
Did they give you a reason?
And I think and it's the same like on that repair. No, not really.
It's not surprising at all to me. Toy libraries can't have bikes because they're children moving at high speed. We even have, you know, really specific guidelines around what sort of scooters we can and can't hire out. I'm actually shocked that none of you have insurance issues, because we have constant, you know, things that they're trying to take out of our coverage. And it keeps going up substantially. So one of the things I'm going to be looking at is we've now just got some funding from the Victorian State Government, so going to VMIA, the government insurer, to try to get insurance through there, and hopefully that might be a more sort of sustainable option, because for us insurance is a huge issue that impacts our operations.
Debbie, I feel some of the things that the insurers are pulling out of insurance for these sort of organisations are not done with. I don't know how they come to those decisions. It feels like why take out bikes, or and it might have been just someone claimed one particular place where they've got a big claim on a particular incident device.
Yeah. It's not done by anybody who has any knowledge of the actual risks. So quite often stuff is taken out, and then we can kind of explain to them what the toy they're actually talking about is and get it put back in again. But
sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's anything that has safety standards attached to it. So which can be all sorts of things, yeah.
I was just wondering, so it's interesting, like you're saying that because your insurance is through another group, so with the repair cafes, whether it's more or less, you know, we're protected by someone else's insurance, so we don't have to deal with those problems, but it could.
I think it's probably they don't know that your insurers haven't actually thought about the risks of repair cafes, I would guess. And I'd probably keep it that way if I was you.
Right, okay. We'll move on to the next one.
It's bizarre that we have to shield ourselves from being, that we have to do that. That we in fact, choose not to mention certain things because I think it might be pulled out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Problem with all risk management. The other question I had under this was about then getting the skilled people to do these jobs. And we touched on that when we talked about testing and tagging. But are there other hard to repair, well, not hard to repair items that are high demand? I mean, washing machines, I don't know. People rocking up with these things, you're going, well, how do we get the repairers? Is there any specific
Can I ask another question added on to that? Is there a directory of people who, so even if the businesses, one of you was saying that some of your volunteers are looking to start businesses, is there any directory of people who have these sort of unique skills in repairing specific items?
That would be great.
Is Brendan still on the line?
Yeah, Brendan Flexible would be
Yeah,
something
so
along those.
Brendan, are you there? No.
Oh, he is positive. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
he is.
Coming.
Hi.
Hi. Did you hear the question?
I did. It's yeah, it's definitely something we want to do. At the moment with Fixable, the great majority of people who are signing up are people who are interested but don't have the repair skills. We certainly have some really really good hobbyist repairers on there. But the majority of people seem to be ones that have come across it on social media and think, oh, what a great idea, and joining up. So our challenge at the moment is actually finding all of the hobbyist repairers. We know they're out there and word's spreading, and the ones that join are, have amazing kind of attitude and skills and enthusiasm to help other people. I think having a directory with their location as well would just be one of the most important things that we could do. Yeah.
Can we direct people who maybe do want to be starting up a small business in that space to you? Is there capacity for that yet? Or
Please do. Yeah, we have so within the online community, we've got what's called spaces. So we're just kind of getting them going, but we've got one that's for professionals, so professional corner. So it's for small businesses, whether it's a one-man band or a one-woman band or a little shop front or whatever. And I think that would be really wonderful. Yeah. So please do. The more the merrier. We're trying to with the platform. We want it to work however the members want it to work. So it's quite a flexible platform, and if you think something like that would be valuable, then we can kind of make it happen. We're trying not to sort of force the issue in any way. We just want to get people on there, and then and then see how they want it to work, and we can change it with them. Another example might be, I heard you mention earlier about a sort of forum. I think there's a group in Facebook where a lot of repair cafes are members, and we could have a space in Fixable just for repair cafe coordinators. I guess one of the benefits of something like Fixable as opposed to Facebook is there's no ads and there's no noise and there's no data collection. It's a social enterprise, so it's 100% private. And that space within Fixable could be open only to repair cafes, for example. And then you could share ideas and, what's working well for you to recruit volunteers. What are some of the, the guidelines for what you can and can't do, these sort of things. Anyone got tips on this, or, whatever it might be. It could be a self-contained private space for you guys to have those conversations. So that's just another example of how we'd love it to work.
Could you have like a registry too of people who've got taggers or that kind of thing who might, shared? And it sounds like, some of you probably have some of the same repairers who go to different It might be a good segue, sorry, so we've, Karen Ellis has joined us from Mended Australia. So I had trouble getting in contact with Karen. She emailed me and for some reason, our email wouldn't connect back, but luckily she's joined us now. So if you're there, Karen, would you like to say hello? Just a quick, as people have joined the forum, we're just asking people to say hello and introduce themselves, where they're from.
Yes, hello, David. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, we did have difficulty and are feeling very disappointed at this time that we had no information about this. I don't know what's broken down. You said our email didn't work, but we have.
No, Karen, it was on our end. Apologies, not on your end.
Oh, who's that? Sorry.
Sorry, that's Candice at the front here. But yeah, it wasn't on your end, it was on our end, so apologies.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Candice, for that, because we were trying very, very hard. We feel it's very important that Mended Australia has a say because we've been working in this space for 10 years and we were a bit sort of shocked that we weren't invited, even personally, really, because of our work. But that's beside the point. What would you like to hear, David?
Well, well, first of all, just an introduction of your involvement as Mended Australia, and then we're just in the middle of a discussion about shared resources, repairers who've got unique skills.
Yes, okay. Well, Mended Australia has been working in this space, as I said, for over a decade, supporting repair and repair cafes, and more recently as activists for the right to repair. I, Karen, am on the steering committee of the Australian Repair Network, and the Australian Repair Network also would have liked to have been informed about this event today because of all of its Victorian members, and it could have assisted greatly in perhaps having more people here to have a say. I've contacted Leanne Wiseman, the chair of the Australian Repair Network, to let her know that this is happening, and we do hope there is a recording today, David.
Yes, there is.
Yes, in relation to, I just caught the end bit of Brendan Norris's talk, presentation on Fixable. Mended Australia is on Fixable, but it's not particularly active, and we feel that that's a real shame because it's been set up, it's a good interface, and we would like to see more interaction on that site. We go in from time to time, and I've sort of heard what he said just at the last bit there about sharing his resource that's private and could perhaps assist. But I think we've got to be very mindful that there's so many of these resources available. I mean, the Australian Repair Network has a formal website that has a collection of a number of members across Australia. So why aren't we tapping into the Australian Repair Network as well? So there needs to be much more coordination, we think, as to, you know, what's going to happen. Is this just for Victoria, or are we going to do it Australian-wide to support the members, the Victorian members? That needs to be decided and worked on. The summit was held and it was very disappointing. I don't know if Victorian Sustainability Victoria was online for that event, the summit, the national summit. It was its third year, and it could have been online, but it certainly wasn't there, from my understanding, at the actual event. And look, that would have been great if we had have had representation there. Danny and I from Mended Australia were there, and it was very informative, and they're trying to bring together a lot more in relation to this. So Sustainability Victoria may need to work with the Australian Repair Network, David, in relation to, you know, trying to sort of bring this all together.
One of the reasons why we started with this meeting was because we joined, but only as a live stream, and we did share the link to people for that event. And we thought, well, there wasn't an opportunity for Victorian repair cafes to meet together. So I just took the opportunity. We had this booking to bring people together. So because there are different networks, yeah, some people got missed. That wasn't intentional. It was to do with the timing of things. We just thought there's an opportunity to get people together. And this is the first opportunity we've had to contact.
Karen, it's Candice here again.
Yes,
this is very much just the start of a conversation, and we just wanted to start bringing different organisations together. It will tend to have a Victorian focus, which is not to say that we don't try to have influence at a national level. But given we're Sustainability Victoria, it will tend to have a Victorian focus. But yeah, there's no meaning to leave anyone out. It's really just starting the conversation, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Oh, well, thank you, Candice. That's good to know. And just on the training, David, what did you want in relation to the training? What information? Did you mention training?
Not specific training. I think we're talking at the moment about repairers with particular skills. I think we were talking earlier before you came in about tagging and testing, because some repair cafes have had people who've done the training. So we're talking about that kind of thing. And also we had Debbie from Toy Libraries Victoria talking about specific requirements and standards for repairing of toys. So we're wanting to just check notes with everybody about had people had access to that information or not.
Yeah, well, Test and Tag has come in over the last couple of years, and it appears the bureaucrats want to see testing and tagging in repair cafes and, of course, tool libraries, because you're actually hiring out stuff. It's not essential to have repair cafes, but as I said, the bureaucrats like to see it. It's not essential. It's not a legal requirement for repair cafes to have them. But look, it doesn't hurt. However, the consideration that must be taken into account is the financial outlay that repair cafes have to pay to have their people trained up. For starters, the courses cost, $400 or $500. And then you've got the machines that cost, $700 plus. And then you've got the calibration, a yearly calibration fee of $200 or $300 of the machines. So, yeah, the repair cafes are volunteer run. They need support. Tool libraries may be able to fund that because they're getting their membership fees. Yeah, definitely a consideration. Danny from Mended Australia was trained up by Darebin Repair Cafe, and he appreciated that support from them to be able to get that test and tag certification. However, he's quite competent with electrical appliances and personally doesn't think it's essential, but it can't hurt.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with everybody. It's about, because we've got different cafes with different levels of resourcing and, some are connected with neighbourhood houses and some aren't. And so that affects so that's why we're here today to talk about what, access we have to these different things and whether it is worthwhile or not. So,
yes.
A few comments on that.
Yeah, no, well, thank you very much, and thanks for getting us in. I've been a bit rushed because I've been online, so you can probably hear it in my voice. It was, the last hour and a half trying to get in. So thank you very much.
Okay. Now, the time is 11:45. I think we've got the sandwiches. Quarter to one. Sorry, yeah. Got the sandwiches out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Did want to talk a little bit about the capability piece, but did want to take a 5-minute break, another leg stretch, another coffee thing, and then talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to bring sandwiches in here and we can?
Yeah.
Well, actually, question for the people in the room. What is your preference? You want to take a bit of a break to eat rather than working through? Totally open.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my plan had originally been would sort of finished about 1:30, and then just have half an hour for lunch at the end, but it might be better to chat and chew.
Chat and chew.
Since we're here.
Yeah. What we might do for people online is we might just break for half an hour, 25.
I'd be okay with a 5-minute toilet break.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I'd keep going.
I'll keep going and maybe finish a bit earlier.
What about we do 5 minutes? I'll put the food out here. You can grab something.
And come back to the
sit down,
table.
And then we can keep the conversation going.
All right, we'll make it 12:55, 10 minutes, have a toilet break, grab a water, grab some food, come back and we'll, so for people online, 10 minutes? Yep, awesome.
So that means we're back at 12:55.
12:55. I wanted to ask you about
both
this tagging business.
Yes.
People come in with things that don't work. Is there any
Yes.
tagging that can go on?
Yeah,
at
the
that
machine
stage?
will test to see if it's safe to.
Even if it's not
interact.
working?
Yes.
Okay.
The test and tag thing is not the be all and end all to say that a device will work or is safe.
David,
It just tests one thing.
environmental analysis bit, I reckon we save it
Tests
for a
the insulation
Yeah,
of the board.
Yeah,
the device
I reckon
is
that's
attached to,
something we could
and
unpack a
the
bit.
chassis of the
Yeah,
device up to a certain point. It doesn't,
Right.
yeah, it can't test for everything and it's, yeah.
It's in-
That's Karen's point about, it's not, and Danny's, because I've talked to them regularly about this sort of stuff. It's not the be all and end all, but
It was important for our insurance company. Our insurance company was like,
yeah.
we want the test and tag.
Yep.
And it's also, but yeah, it doesn't test the safety, like. all
It doesn't
safety.
prove that the device is safe.
Yeah,
It just tests a particular
Something's
facet.
broken.
It makes sure that
Not the electrical.
insulation
Yeah.
And it protects the person. You're going to plug it in and then find it blows it blew. We had that issue in an old building, like the church facilities are quite old, blew a fuse that blew out half the electrics in the place.
To safeguard your premises.
So, you know, we now have all the portable, switch, what are they, the
RCD,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the current.
yeah, just to circuit breakers if they need,
Yep.
if they do end up getting plugged in and they don't work. But we test the stuff as it comes in. So one of our fixers works for an op shop, repairing, and he does all their testing and tagging. But he's so busy fixing, he does all our sewing machine fixes, that he doesn't have time to do the testing and tagging.
Yeah.
But he brings a machine and somebody else who's got a little bit of understanding, she does it based on, I mean, you don't have to be an electrician to use it.
No.
Yeah. Anybody can be trained to use it.
You could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the better machines, the more expensive machines are actually easier to use.
easier to use, they just, yeah.
Because they just spit out a thing and you plug it in, press a button, spit out a thing.
That's what ours does.
Some of the
But
machines-
how much
Not
is
right,
it?
I'm
Get
used
a
to.
grand
Some-
or a grand and a half or something.
Some of the machines
If
you've
we're
got to
gonna
interpret the
keep
results
going.
to actually, yeah.
So it's a good course. Good course of skills. There's a specific centre. It's a full day learning, hands-on, doing, practical testing.
Yeah.
And then you have to spend quite a few hours online doing
I like the idea of the trainer, so we have someone that can train or
that would be
at
good.
pennies, if that helps.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
then there's
yeah,
lots
yeah.
of stuff to test and play with, and then we go and certain people then go online to get their actual piece of.
Some people have complained about our coffee facilities. So
Yeah.
we were actually hoping for enough donations to get a proper coffee
Yeah,
machine.
yeah.
So that's
Good
to
idea.
take second
It's
place.
actually a real draw card for our events, all our events, the coffee machine is a real draw card.
Yeah.
And it brings in a lot of income for the Mood Valley Sustainability.
So do you charge for the coffee?
Yeah, each event we do, we get about $200 worth of coffees.
Oh,
So,
wow, that's all right.
and some of the
Yeah.
bigger events where we have speakers and lots of things going, like we do an electric vehicle festival once a year.
Mm.
We have Bill Shorten and politicians come along as well, so we
Yeah.
have
When's your next
300 or
one?
400 people there. I don't know. The electric next event.
I'd like to come.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Look on our Facebook.
Yeah, have a look.
Or MV Sustainability. All the things.
I mean, what about the idea of bringing in a local coffee
Yeah. so-
group too, that
absolutely.
do the coffee
Yeah.
and then
So-
get a percentage
and we
of
did-
their
Yeah.
sales?
True.
Some of our monthly Saturday events, we call Sustainable Valley. We had a whole lot of things. We had market stalls, just a small little car park, 8 car park, but we had stalls in there and a coffee thing. We had over COVID, I can't remember the name, Steeple Coffee. They stored their coffee cart in that car park because they didn't have any business to go to. But then we basically refurbished some electrical things on there for them, and then we basically used it for quite a few sessions before they then got their confidence back to go out and do the job with the card. That's all.
The questions are always about sustainability and how many grants.
Gotta take,
like, you know, like
the boxes home for my worms.
Very nice, volunteer heavy, but like.
I can't see good
Yeah,
cardboard
that
go to
kind of-
waste, can't
Very
very.
So, so I think you could get a grant for a coffee machine if it's tabled in the right way to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's a draw card to bring people in.
I like
It
the
can be a
idea
stretch,
of
but any of
putting a
these
coffee
things,
bag
No, it's a thing.
getting any grant can be a stretch. So.
There's a volunteers and expenses grant from, we heard about it from Jed, who's federal level for Darabin, but it's for the, I think it's, no, that'll be, federal level volunteer expenses specific. Thing is, let me just see.
But I think, like you say, it is a stretch, and I guess it is. But at the same time, like I say, it's a definite draw card for what we do, and it does bring people in, we think, and that's evidenced by how much coffee is sold in the end.
Charlie,
This is good to set up a cafe.
Charlie, can you hear?
Hey, Danny, how you going?
Not too bad. Can we just head back to the test and tag? And can I give my thoughts on?
We're just having a casual conversation, right? Everyone's at lunch. Everyone's going to have some lunch, but we're going to come back to the table. So absolutely get stuck in and tell everyone what your thoughts are. But hey, hold off for the time being, I would, because there's not everyone in the room.
That's 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I just really wanted to get your.
This would just be,
Well, yeah, I'm pretty much aligned with you that it's not
It seems
altogether
to be
necessary,
declined,
but
like
if
we're
it's
getting
necessary
something,
to
but it's like,
let
yeah,
your
let me
insurance
just double
premium,
check, but let's see, got something.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
And like I was saying to the other guys, the test and tag doesn't prove safety for all aspects of the device, and it only tests a couple of aspects of that safety.
Yeah,
So it's, you know.
And I find it a waste of time to test a whole equipment.
Yeah, definitely tell everyone all about that.
Yeah, all right, we'll get
The other
back
thing with
to
the
it later.
test and tag is a lot of repair cafes, when they first start up, they don't kind of know what they need to spend their money on or apply for grants. And test and tag is an obvious one that people.
And like,
But
I think he needed
that's
to,
where that's the
like,
number focus, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
also
saying-
your,
but the actual brand was.
your repairers are
Yep.
quite talented and they can assess
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
And
equipment
like, they'd be
prior.
great, like, I mean,
But like, yeah, Catalina was saying their
yeah,
insurance
the kind of.
requires
coffee
them to
machine,
test and tag
absolutely.
things.
So that'd be something like it's
In order to
like slightly more
At
complicated.
the end, once they're fixable, it's not a problem, but
But
it's
yeah, they do all that.
a bit of a waste of time at the beginning.
Test and tag machine.
Hang- hang tight, we're
Yeah,
just having
we've
5
actually
minutes
just,
out of the
that's, we've had another person trained with a grant for that.
Yeah, we'll get back to you anyway.
Yeah, cool.
Hi there.
Hi, to have a bit of people.
No, hi.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
Karen and Danny, is your video, you
Yeah.
can't get your video working or you?
It's really, yeah, it's really
Even
frustrating
briefly, just
to
so
see
everyone can see you.
that, especially when I feel like there's momentum, there's a shift happening.
Nah, not at the minute, Charlie.
And I guess because we're also part of a larger community. It's really not a problem.
I think we did well with this morning.
Yeah, so it's like- And it's more judgment. Yes. So, but we're trying it out, see, unfortunately, a lot of the repairers don't have the administration.
No, that's exactly
And
right.
the thing is, interesting, we had a team meeting here with my repairers, and a lot of them have volunteered for other projects, and they've said, look, this is run so well, having a paid person in,
Yeah.
as a core person to navigate and do all of it,
Yeah.
has made coming in a breeze for them. As a
Yeah.
repairer just comes in, fastener, everything's set up, everything's set up. So it's interesting. I was surprised at the decision, but it's like, okay,
Yeah.
really why you want to do it that
Yeah.
way. Repairers are very cute. They're quite activated now going, well, should we try and find funding?
Yeah.
Whether does the group decide to separate from the larger organisation or do we still keep under?
Yeah.
So all these questions have been quite interesting.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Yourself and Darren, you're the ones that
But then
I
we're going to the office, so.
and so it's been
Late
on,
It's been great.
Tuesday movie night.
Really great.
Once a month.
So
Go to the Yarraville Sun.
I'm hoping that we still
Okay. Yeah.
really keep the momentum.
Yeah.
I just worry.
Doesn't feel like work though.
I would like to.
What are you going to do?
In the midst of just writing letters to get
My big business
wedding support.
and
Whether it's myself or
called
somebody else,
which is like
as a brand really drive
Yeah.
some preview.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Likewise, like I want to start a community workshop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, how can we support? So we're starting up with, you know,
How long have you guys
like
been here for?
workshops
It's
will
been a while.
hopefully this building,
Mm.
build that sort of momentum. October, but it's just finding 21.
Oh, right, yeah.
So interesting.
You had a feeling it might not have been.
It's fairly new, yeah, we moved in COVID, so we were at 50 Lonsdale. Got a location in the space. And this way we've got two doors, so we've got, just cannot get it through. We've got this like weird sort of
Yeah.
meet on
because
my
it's-
face and
Yeah.
we can sort of
Rent out
zone
these
where-
rooms to people and there's like a collaboration space where people can just, if they're a freelancer or a small organisation, they can rent a desk for space. And you know, run into completely different people on this floor.
Yeah.
And then it's mostly us on level 13.
It's like an old furniture shop, but they're saying you can't have more than 10
And
people.
then from that,
Yeah.
it's been, we can't handle all of our stuff
Right.
upstairs.
Yeah.
You're
still doing
a
a
bit more complex.
And even the,
That's right.
when I'm coming to a couple of days a week,
Uh-huh.
there's plans in this time that the highway or something, petrol stations.
How many employees?
Between now and then.
Around about
And
200, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would prefer to get rent.
Yeah, that's right.
Depending on the
What
way.
programs we're working on reduced.
Yeah.
Was that interesting?
There's nothing else there that they're gonna be able to do.
I moved here from an accounting firm
I've been-
in COVID and.
I'm introduced into council.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody who works here has the same morals and, you know, they
Yeah.
work here because they're interested and passionate about sustainability and.
Yeah.
Not just a job, I think, so you really feel that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
to navigate that.
Yeah,
Navigate
yeah,
like
yeah.
the possibility.
That are in board and.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Space.
It's so funny if there's good sites like
Yeah.
on projects like.
All the
you're
sort
about,
of
you know, some innovation.
Majority of the landfill is little.
Yeah, like tell us more, what are you working on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, look, they're making roads out of that?
Yeah.
And in fact, we did a session at the Zero Waste
Before I forget, we should
Festival,
get a photo.
and we had brainwave
Yes.
flights.
Oh, yes, we should thought.
Newsletter.
And
Oh,
Could you
Myra-
got off the press yesterday?
Oh.
manages a team
Yeah.
at Moreland Council,
Yeah,
so
Part of our
Community,
project doing the Waste Wisdom's newsletter.
waste recycling.
So the September issue just came out yesterday.
Community
Do you have an
engagement
online
sites.
version or?
Yeah.
Yeah, send it through to me.
In
Love reading all
Melbourne,
the
and when
things
she
people
knew
do.
we were
Yeah.
doing this, she was like, oh God, I'm gonna do my so I'll link her up with Joe Casa and see how it is, but yeah, I do wonder.
Even, I love, even just to.
So you
Yeah.
would paid positions in the roles that you.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
work in, or they're voluntary.
Opportunity to create a sort of a
Well,
like network.
Yeah.
I'm at the neighbourhood house in the community development role. There's community engagement at Unison, I guess we're,
Some sort, somewhere.
and then we, you know, put in the grant.
Yeah,
We've got a
I'll,
sustainability big
Yeah,
grant,
after this, I'll
So
have
that,
a think about some of
which
those
is a
things,
broad
but,
waste systems grant, but
Also some.
is then,
council
um,
comments, but-
there's funding in there for the coordination of the
Yeah.
repair hub.
So that'll be good.
Okay. Which kind of goes into,
Sort of like.
when there's another lady, Jackie, who's not here, she's overseas at the moment, that's been a real driver.
So whenever I'm
Got a person that's passionate.
prepared, skill based.
So I guess in a way, our role in the repair hub is volunteer, in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And I mean, I live
Are we-
locally, so I actually do volunteer.
But no, it's lovely.
occasionally.
Yeah, I think that-
Yeah, or that
Oh,
kind of
definitely.
front house
Yep, absolutely.
Role at the hub that we run.
And Newton goes to your.
There's a question.
And sewing and.
Oh, is she talking about sodas?
I can't quite.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, we got it sorted.
So, yeah, I do volunteer.
And we apologise
Because we
profusely.
run it on a Sunday, so.
No, thank you, thanks Tim. Yeah, yeah, we've been trying to work it out, but we've, I reckon.
I think the banner and the temperature down and I feel like so much is obvious.
Like, I need a t-shirt, I'm like, wow.
Like a window that you can't.
He's like an external one.
Like window or external blind, yeah. I'm with you. If you really, if it's like, if you want to move up the front, I think it is slightly cooler that is, but I'm just saying this is like right here, I'm like, oh, wow. And you have people sitting next to you.
4 hours.
I must go, so you can't get it right.
Do we just open the other?
I am glad that I chose some ensemble today.
Yeah, so like number 27, 25, summary.
She lives locally. But she will.
That I had to do. Am I? Or is it all of this one's been really actually fun, like I can't actually tell?
Like your grandson.
Very confusing. Yeah.
It's one of my, I'm gonna go to this meeting.
I was literally petting myself.
Awesome. Yep, I'll monitor, yep.
Okay, everybody, so the last section, we were going to talk a little bit about capabilities, but actually what I'd originally thought might be a useful exercise is a bit of an environmental scan. So to talk about what's happening in our local environment, what are the push and pull factors state and worldwide, and then to think, okay, as a meeting of this group, what would be, what would you want from SV, what roles and that kind of thing. So are you happy for me to go over here with the coloured texters and get some input? So it's a little bit of a brainstorm. It's a good thing to do while we're chatting and chewing.
Yep.
So people on the line, I've got Candice managing the chat, who'll be your voice and grabbing my attention because I'm way over here, and hopefully you can see a little bit of the whiteboard. But so what are some of the factors that influence what you're doing repair cafes? So I'll put budget immediately because that's something, resources. So each of you would have like challenges with repairers and volunteers. So what are other things that influence what you're doing or what your decisions we make in the next 6 months, 12 months?
I don't know about making our decisions, but people's awareness and feeling that recycling is important affects how many customers we get, and that has certainly increased in the time we've been working.
Public attitude.
Yeah.
What we call, I think, in SV, we've been talking about this thing about social license, meaning, any activity that you do, public activity, whether, you're a commercial enterprise or a community, it's either you're going to get supported, people are going to come or they're not going to come, and people are going to go to Coles or not go to Coles if they're recycled bags or not recycled bags. So
there's too many people that don't know that things like repair cafes exist.
Right. So there's public awareness, and I mean some of this is statewide as well, but certainly in the local level, some of that you have control over, and some of you don't. Depends on the resources.
It's kind of attached to that public attitude, but, or maybe it is essentially that, but it's the valuing of it as well, that valuing the idea of repairing versus disposable kind of.
Because it's easy and convenient to just buy something new, but yeah.
Which is quite a change for people.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a way, but.
And can we tease that out with the valuing and the public attitude?
Yeah.
Is that universal, do you think, or in your local community, are you like hitting certain groups and not others?
Yeah. So, for example, on the estate, we have they have a monthly hard rubbish because there's so much stuff that's thrown out. And that's something that we kind of talked about a fair bit, but.
We have problems in Darabin connecting with our lower income people for a whole multitude of factors compared to our more well off and comfortable.
Right. So you've got different demographics.
Which is sad because I feel like it's the people who are on lower incomes that need it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's valuable.
And that's, oh, sorry,
Mm.
sorry, Heather. Well, I'm just going to say, I've definitely taken a note from today, actually, just
Yeah.
about this, the idea of linking in possibly, it might just be very grassroots, but like a local men's shed
Yep.
group, that to say that we've got all these resources that are thrown out every month that could be, people could come and look at them and see if there's furniture there, for example, that could be taken or repaired and then given away or sold or, you know, to another group, because so many, it's just incredible. Where the Kensington estate, there's just under 1,000 properties and so there's around 2,000 people living there, but there's.
So you've got, because you've got the specific needs of your cohort, you can sort of target things a bit more specifically.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you go, well, we know that there's particular, you know, language groups that are there, and there, you know, we can go through community leaders and spread the message, so you can be really targeted.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I just ask
yeah.
before we move on with
Yep.
your area, have you worked with Garage Sale Trail or have you heard of them at all?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, is that something that works? Have you tried it in your local area? So basically, for anyone who doesn't know, Garage Sale Trail tries to replace that hard rubbish element. There's a large volume with giving the community members the chance to come together and sell items. So again, getting money back for themselves, but it also creates a bit of a swapping community vibe. So is that something that you've
I mean, it's
tried or-
definitely.
One at Maple House last year, actually.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know, I was going to say, and it's definitely a potential project that we could develop to get funding for and organise, because, but at least we've got I mean, it's quite structured now. We have the Melbourne City Council, which is our council, offers this monthly collection now on the weekend, so. But I just can't believe how much hard rubbish.
Monthly
collect-
sounds a lot, doesn't it?
Does that promote turnover?
It probably does.
It's easy, but it's really hard to get rid of
And there's not just one point, there's about 3 different points, so people know, and they just, it's just, as soon as it's collected, within the next week, there's stuff thrown out again, you know, whether it's TVs or whatever, and it's just.
So another driving factor is council policy and factors, and their waste policies have an influence on how you guys operate.
Marybeck has in their hard rubbish pamphlet that they send out to people, actually lists the Brunswick Tool Library. Another person that should be here, I'm not sure why they're not here, because they run repair cafes.
It might, look, I sent messages out to different networks, and I might have overlooked some networks.
So
that's
the
probably
Marybeck
why.
pamphlet lists them as a place, as an alternative to people putting their stuff out.
Actually, Brunswick Tool Library, we've got Sarah.
Yeah.
No, she's in and out. She's got reception problems with her phone. But she's,
Can I just ask, do you have, does the community have a space that they can do?
Oh, she's there.
At all?
Well, that's one of our long-term, that's a goal for us.
Like
to
a
set up
space, it's a workshop or
a
something.
workshop space, yeah.
I'm going to put something here about networking too, because that's something.
learning from each other and information sharing.
You turned your video on.
Skilled workshop.
One of the
Access
things,
to
I mean, we have done it with bikes. We've set up kind of a bike
we've got
workshop
a bike
space where people come and do repairs, but also learn how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's always resourcing, that's the big one, and space where we've been trying to find a permanent space
If this
for
works.
years now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no, I'm going to try and put my laptop on.
That's so we can develop
Because,
these.
but just because it's.
Because we
so
could
far
probably
away.
increase the demand.
So if
I mean,
I
we
do-
could
Oh,
meet
it's not that
demand
Yes.
if we had those.
We can
some
speak
of
David
those
writing at
factors
least, but
like
it's very
space
blurry
and-
with the
Can you,
context.
can you see me at the back, people on the screen?
They can. I was just going to say, Karen,
Not the board though.
Karen has written, and I'm assuming there's a bit of a convo happening online too.
Yep.
The NTCRS is currently being reviewed, looking to include reuse and repair and not the shredding of e-waste. So there's a federal review that Mendit Australia submitted to.
Okay.
An actual
It's
tour.
another factor. So some
Bus tour.
federal government.
Yeah.
taking that.
Thanks,
Um,
Darren.
Someone, because it's quite.
Sorry, yes.
Just also a point of, and it's been said a few times, but like the value of repair hubs being really so much more than repairing, that social connection aspect. Like we have a number of people that come down for a chat without things to repair. It's another community space to build connections and
So space in some respects, it's a restriction because it's a resource that you need, but also it's an asset.
sure.
Community connection.
Yeah.
And that helps with the social value, not only of the general social value about repair, but the social connection, the social impact.
In your community, so,
Social impact.
I guess like, also like we under the Murder Community House, we have an actual shed of tools, but there seems to be some sort of like I have women in my women's shed that want to come in at other times, but then it's like for insurance or whatever reason, the community doesn't have capacity or access to spaces for repair.
I'm just going to thought bubble. In terms of, we're talking about the communities that we're reaching. Every time I go to a repair cafe, I feel very comfortable because I kind of feel like it's my peeps, it's my generation. I found about you on Facebook. Are we reaching a younger audience?
The Darwin one
Is there a way, different spaces there? And I'm asking, not saying, but I just, I'm curious, is it because, it's that neighbourhood house space and if you tend to be more settled in your neighbourhood because you're older and you're more invested and you're kind of going to go to your neighbourhood house and is there space to grow repair?
I don't know who does pop-ups around the table,
Oh,
but so like
pop up at Melbourne Uni. Yeah.
I was going to say, university pop-ups, like particularly brainwave bikes, tend to target either high density or low socioeconomic areas or universities just to get that particular cohort engaged with what they do.
Yeah.
We get younger people for bikes and computers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably different thought space. I'm just thinking because with my own children that they don't, like they get so used to iPhone, new model, chuck out the old one, get the new one. Like there's a whole generation that's been indoctrinated in the disposal culture.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's
So
fine
I'm
for this to
soapboxing
break.
you, tell me that.
No, but it is. You go, oh, it's 2 years. I've got a new phone. This one, it's supposed to break now.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I'll push the discussion then to what's happening sort of state and worldwide then, because I guess that's drawing on more of a worldwide, it's a culture of disposal.
I mean, I sometimes promote saying that you save money by getting repairs done. So it's
Absolutely.
saying, instead of buying a whole new bike, like just get that part fixed. You save money. So maybe it's that education component that we can help in terms of our promotion of repair cafes. So these are really great benefits that we can do that.
And we've definitely targeted that, with our cohort, especially on the, people in public housing. People save money, and some people have things they've put aside that they've just been kind of, I suppose, waiting for an opportunity to get it fixed or repaired. So coming with quite a few items that they've had sitting there, and then finally, they can get it all fixed.
I just said to Marie, I've got a pile waiting for Ringwood.
Yeah, I know.
May as well go when I have.
We also demand, often we say to people that they come in, you can only actually bring one item.
Well, that's right, because it actually really helps with your flow. Right?
Just takes, you can't come with and hold up spaces for people that are coming,
And that was a question that Liz was, sorry, I'm going away from the ward for just for a minute, but you were talking about the other day about like this kind of, where do we draw the line, or do we, suppose that repairers, are we taking away work from them, and how do we facilitate that?
It started because I saw a place in North Melbourne that advertised that they do repairs as well as dry cleaning. And I thought, where's the cutoff point?
Yeah.
But taking her business away and doing it for free.
I know Railway Repair has been really concerned about that, and their thing has been if there is like a paid thing that exists for it, if you're coming to railway repair to get it fixed, the proviso is that you're coming to learn how to do it yourself. Because that comes up for them with bikes, because people are coming with, you can get a bike fixed, that's a thing that you can often do, but as a paid service. So for them, the bikes, whether it's affordable.
Well, it's interesting, I mean, where I live, there's a big bicycle shop that closed down, and the mechanic ended up being employed at Bicycle Hub.
Oh, really?
And I'm not saying the Bicycle Hub drove that
No.
shop out of business. In fact, it was online sales that drove that out. And I think to some extent repair cafes are filling in a gap because your large retail is being pushed out by online. Again, sorry, I'm soapboxing. I'm just saying my opinion as an individual, not as the SV. But
just on your thing there, Liz, in terms of clothing, like there are close to us, there are a number of places that will do alterations and things. We don't take alterations. So if you're coming to get a large hem redone on something, or you want this widened to fit you now and didn't fit before, we don't do that. We send them back to the alteration places. We'll do repairs to clothes. So if the elastic's coming out, or got a little hole here that needs patching or something like that, we'll do that, but we won't do alterations, just to try and support local. And the same with the bikes, it's more about, how to inflate the tyres or check you've got a puncture or all those patch a puncture, those types of jobs, rather than a service on a bicycle.
I think there's a general thing about, our economy's shifting. That there's state government policy and national policy to move to a circular economy. And we're repair cafes are driving that change. And at some point, I think there's a hope that commercial will step in and fill that gap.
The goal is not need repair cafes. I think.
Because everybody's
everyone's already
skilled to
do
it.
Do we have hands up over there?
Yeah, we do. We've got a few. So there was a comment made from Rowan that government policy allows a throwaway society, or lack of policy, I suppose, is the sort of flip side to that.
State or worldwide, or I guess become a bit.
I'd say it's across the board, is my sense of it. Karen said, insurance companies are of the opinion that, and we talked about this, that repair cafes are high risk, which is unfounded. Refer to the Productivity Commission's Right to Repair inquiry report in 2021. And no reports from International Repair Cafe that repair cafes are dangerous. Repair cafes need VMIA insurance as a priority. So that's the VMIA that was touched on earlier. That's the insurer for the government. It's too easy and cheap to buy poor quality items, which will be in landfill in a few months. Agree with Karen, this is a regulation problem, not an education problem. For what it's worth, spoke to an insurance broker yesterday. He said the industry has been difficult over the past 2 to 3 years, but he's started to notice it's turning back slowly, evidenced by premiums coming down and exclusions being limited. Might mean things are starting to get easier. Moral is to continue asking the question and pushing the agenda. That's a good one. Brendan, thank you for that. Sustainability Victoria knows about VMIO insurance. It insures a lot of neighbourhood houses and suspect events.
Okay. I guess anything is one. We've talked a bit about global themes. So I guess I want to sort of lead this towards where to from here with SV and what we can do to support with the capability program. Do we want to, well, one thing we're hoping is just to have this discussion here today, people can meet, talk about issues of concern, compare notes to how we're operating. Is there a way that we can be a central coordinating point, or at least, if you think Brendan, the Fixable is a good coordinating point to do some things. How do we connect with the toy libraries and the tool libraries? The question of advocacy and insurance, whether there's a role for us. And Candice, I've also you know, for us too, how comfortable SB is in that role as well. The other thing was we had a capability framework we had devised. I dug up some years ago. It was actually written for councils and how they manage resources and waste. And I was going through that thinking, actually, there's a few points here that could be applicable to repair cafes in terms of you know, as a group, this is what we aspire to when we run our cafe. So I don't know if you'd be interested in looking at that or talking about that as well. Not these are standards you need to adopt, but rather this is what we're all trying to do as a group. We feel that this is what we're trying to achieve as repair cafes.
A manifesto.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
And you know, given there is, and we were just talking about it before, there is a shift definitely and some momentum in this space. So for SB, we're keen to work out how we can help and assist in this space. So like I said, grants are one thing, and bringing grantees together is fantastic, but it's also understanding, you know, what's the bigger picture issue or set of issues, or, you know, challenges, opportunities that we can kind of have some influence, or, you know, what can we do in this space? So we're just keen to explore that a little bit more, because, you know, it's easy to just sort of go, all right, this is what we do. We hand out money for projects, but, you know, we would generally like it to be more than that. So the capability work feeds into that, but also really understanding what good practice and best practice looks like is something we're definitely interested in, and something we can help with.
When it comes to something like this question out here about the boundary between, you know, community and commercial, maybe it's a good thing to be on, you know, without everybody, you know, signing to a manifesto, but everyone going, okay, well, roughly this is what we do, this is where we think the line is, and then people get the same standard whether they go to, you know, to Moonee Valley or to Warrandyte. They go, oh, okay, yeah, well, they won't fix my washing machine, I know that now, but they will. You know, that will certainly help me fix my lawnmower or
and also some regular promotion from SB that includes a directory of maybe times and places and that sort of thing.
Because there's a few different places that are doing that ish.
Yeah.
But no one's up to date and kept up to date, and no one's comprehensive that I'm
That's
aware
right.
of.
Yeah.
I think even David trying to organise today just shows that there's no one stakeholder list that captures everybody who's in this space. Because we've even missed out people that weren't invited to this forum, so it's really tricky. So what is that central point?
Yeah, and it's a timing thing too, because I think some people did acknowledge and said, we'd like to come, but you did put it in the school.
Yeah, but or you didn't reach them at all though, you know, like, because how can you capture everybody? That's the problem. There's no central directory. Yes.
Got a few virtual hands up. Karen, I know there's a hand been up for a while, so I don't know if that's a legacy hand. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, it's Danny here. I wanted to go over what David was talking about, what we do in relation to offering with the high street repairers. We're not taking business away from them. We are getting people who are coming in and usually are seeking advice whether it is worthwhile to get to repair, and that in itself is a great service, because if we assess and they go there, great, we're forward them on, because they just don't know with some of this stuff. And the repairs we do, these repairers on the high street would probably charge far too much, and they'd throw them away anyway. So I think
it's almost akin to like the community legal centre, where, you know, you take your problem in and they say, yes, this is something simple that we can help you do yourself, or this is more complicated, you need to see a lawyer. So that kind of.
Yes, David. And also you mentioned a washing machine before, but you say we wouldn't repair it, but we might offer advice. And I think that's what a lot of people come in They don't actually physically bring anything in, but they'll just pop in, say hello, and, oh, what do you know about this? Or have you sort of done this? And we really offer a fantastic service, all these repair events, and it cannot be underestimated the value we all do, and we should pat ourselves on the back for that. So thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. That's right. The washing machine example was brought up because somebody mentioned that earlier and said because they have a booking system, they could tell people don't bring in your washing machine. So it kind of confirms with what you were saying.
Yeah. I know Rowan, you're next, and then I've got Danielle.
Thank you so much. I'm just wondering if anyone is actually collecting data on whether people would pay to have their item repaired if there wasn't a repair cafe in their neighbourhood.
Ish.
Ish.
Very patchy.
We've got an ish.
But I should add it onto my list.
It would be good to know if people would value paying money to have it repaired, but they're just coming to us because it's free.
Yeah, I think.
Can I put the question back too? Because we're all gathering the data, and some of you are gathering the data for us because it was, part of a funding requirement. But is there anybody that is collecting the data and letting the world know what repair cafes are doing? Say for Victoria or whatever.
I use the Repair Monitor online, yes.
Repair Monitor online?
The international data logging, we use that, but we don't weigh things. Doesn't mean we won't do it, but we just haven't got to that point yet.
Okay. Are other people aware of the Repair Monitor online? Are they using that? And again,
We tried.
I'm asking the question. Yeah.
We tried, it didn't work.
It was collecting too much of, I don't know, good information about the model and the manufacturer and all that sort of stuff, but not really things. It was, additional work that we didn't see.
But what we tried to do earlier this year through SV, and I'm not taking personal responsibility for it, but when we were doing our local action campaign, the idea was, maybe we should do a pop-up repair cafe activity. And for various reasons, the timing, the need, it didn't work with our stakeholders, so we didn't go ahead with it. But there's probably a role for SV to highlight the work that repair cafes are doing in some capacity. So again, is that something that you would be interested in us doing, and using the data that you're collecting to try and tell a story, and that could be part of the capability kit
And using it for advocacy as well, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we struggle with doing the